think we are sorted. I think we are sorted. Mm-hmm.
Everything is coming in a little lag. तो जब यहाँ बोल रहा हूँ उसके थोड़ी देर बाद यहाँ आ रहा है.
अपने आप ही को देख रहा है क्या वहां भी?
Yes, hello guys. Hello. Harshit will join soon. But hello guys, welcome to the Abstract Room. First ever stream, YouTube stream. We are YouTubers now. So this is going to be fun. Let's see how this goes. It's going to be interesting. Again, as I said, there's no real structure to this. It's going to be as freewheeling as possible because at the moment we don't have enough followers to even care about censoring ourselves, self-censoring ourselves. And let's not do that. Let's be as open about the things we want to discuss as possible. Okay, we have Bansal also joining. Nice, good to see. But I don't understand what's up with the gender sex ratio here today. But let's not make our conversation as male gazed as the Bollywood industry is. We'll try our best to not do that. But here you can, I think, share it in the.
Yes, I did on the WhatsApp.
Oh, yes, you did. Here you did not add the link to the. You just shared the. You had to add the link. Where I share the link, you just add that in the. Okay, some people joined right now as well, members. So just to give you an idea again, freewheeling chat रहेगा, कोई वैसे नहीं है. Obviously, Harshit will be joining us, so we'll have some sort of additional respect that we have to give to somebody who has joined, obviously. But उसके अलावा हम जैसे normally बात करते हैं sessions में वैसे ही रखेंगे. We'll not change anything. Yes, 1 second. Just give me a second, okay?
Unmute yourself, my man.
Yeah, for the first time it happened. It's not an issue with me generally. But yeah, I was thinking we'll do some small talk, but then Harshit is here, so that should all. Hi Harshit, we can see you.
हाँ एक सेकंड. ठीक है?
Yes, all good.
Yeah.
Hey Harshit, how are you?
Hey man, I'm good. How are you?
Good. I think it's almost been a year since we last talked. The first time we had talked, and now we are talking.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, these are all the lovely members.
कितने लोग हैं अभी यहाँ पे?
अभी I think total 13 है. So I think 11 है. And
Okay.
Yeah, I'm assuming 2-3 और आएंगे, and we'll have like that's the number of people you can expect today in the conversation.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
How are you, man? How was your day? How are you?
I'm good. I had a good day. How about you guys? थोड़ा बताओ यार अपने बारे में. Please बताओ abstract room के बारे में.
बिल्कुल. First of all, happy belated birthday.
Thank you.
Yes, Pranav over here, if you can see him, also had his birthday. Abhi, I think same day पे था आप लोग का. So.
Oh, happy belated birthday यार प्रणव. तुम लोगों ने celebrate किया प्रणव का birthday?
Yeah, wishing the same to you. Yeah.
I mean, what we did was basically had a meme contest in our Telegram group
वाह,
because Pranav is a very popular guy.
मतलब ये कुछ अलग ही तरीका है बर्थडे सेलिब्रेट करने का.
I mean, obviously. So basically, what I'll do is before we start discussing about whatever our topic is for today, as जैसे मैंने पहले आपको बताया था, I'll again give you a basic idea of what the abstract room is and what we do. So basically, I had started abstract room. I had started this around 2.5 years back. It has been mostly online. We have had discussions on films, books, poetry, all forms of art. We also have started inviting filmmakers and other artists to talk about their work. For example, tomorrow we have a session with Bhaskar Hazarika on
nice, of course.
Yeah. So I mean, basically, we are trying to do all these things. हमने अभी recently, I think 3-4 महीने पहले offline sessions भी conduct करना शुरू किया है पुणे में और मुंबई में. We went to a trek recently जिसमें हम all the members. So basically, all these people are from.
सही है, मेरे को भी बुलाया करो भाई. ट्रैक ब्रेक
अभी बुलाएंगे, क्यों नहीं बुलाएंगे, अब तो बिल्कुल बुलाएंगे. So what happened was,
I love going to treks. मतलब मैं एक I think I've been 2 times with like groups जो groups organize करते हैं ना. So yeah man, like I loved those experiences. This was long time back, I think before COVID, and one trek I did recently with a friend, but yeah, like it's been like I really love doing treks. So I would love to go यार, मतलब especially तुम लोग film lovers हो तो मजा आएगा, बातें करेंगे movies के बारे में.
बिल्कुल मजा आएगा. I mean, I think many of us would in that जहाँ जो भी दिख रहे हैं आपको. So not all of us have ever met each other. Some of us have, some of us haven't. Like that's the interesting thing about it. कि so many of us are so connected to each other. I mean, you can obviously see a certain gender ratio here, जो actually ऐसा ही नहीं है. There are not many people apart from just guys here. Abstract में आज पता नहीं coincidentally सब मर्द ही आए हैं, पता नहीं क्यों. But as I was saying just before the stream started to all the men here, that let's try to make our discussion not as male gazed as Bollywood sometimes can be. Like let's avoid doing that. But like basically abstract room में हम लोग offline sessions भी करने लगे हैं. We are doing some screenings recently. We are doing some reading sessions in Mumbai, in Pune, and so ये सब basically हम करते हैं, काफी टाइम से कर रहे हैं. I wanted to call you for a very long time. मुझे मेरे खुद के इनहिबिशन के चक्कर में I never found out that I was like सही टाइम पे बुलाना है, सही सेशन के लिए बुलाना है, एकदम सही वो होना चाहिए. तो eventually 1 साल लग गया मेरे को अपना वो इनहिबिशन पूरा करने में. I thought चलो ठीक है, might as well अब कर देते हैं, उसको कैसा लगे भी देखा जाएगा. अगर अच्छा लगा तो अच्छा, नहीं लगा तो बाद में अगली बार बोल देंगे, अगली बार अच्छा लगेगा, कोई बात. तो I thought might as well invite you today. So like this month apart from this, tomorrow we'll have a Bhaskar Hazarika session with a conversation with him. फिर उसके बाद में we are having a discussion on coda. Online में हम लोग coda का discussion रखेंगे, और month के end में we have goodwill hunting as well, films के sense में. और हमारे offline segment में हम लोग पुणे, मुंबई और सूरत में हमारे offline screenings होने वाले हैं. इसमें हम लोग कुछ अभी recently restored films है around the partition and around the independence की, जो अभी recently restore हुए, हम वो साथ में बैठ के देखने वाले हैं. We can have a discussion around it. We had our first ever film screening last month in Pune. We watched and discussed Party by Govind Helani. So I mean, basically we are trying to do these things, and I mean, having you here is a great way for us to also, you know, just tell more people about what it is that we do. Because we have, as I mentioned I still remember this because last time हमने बैठे थे, I think it was peak COVID, second wave. And I remember I had told around I told that कुछ 600 लोग abstract में उस time तक आए थे in our sessions. I think that number has today doubled, and we have had over 1,200 people who have joined our sessions. Apart from that, we have also had like members जो आपको दिख रहे, they are paying members, they are regular paying members. So we have had over 170 regular paying members also. So like ये चीजें already साथ में चल रही है. So like it is great for us to have you, because live streaming was something we have never tried, and we thought कि ये एक अच्छा जरिया हो सकता है to try out something new. Because हम normal discussion तो करते ही हैं, उसके अलावा we thought कि कुछ pop culture based कुछ बातें कर सके तो. So that's why we wanted to have you.
Amazing यार, amazing. Looking forward to it.
Yes. So guys, बाकी को मैं बताया था जैसे कि there's no real restriction on what we'll talk about. The topic again is what's up with Bollywood and where is it headed. So I mean, does anybody like Harshit, the way we'll do this is we'll just ask anybody to speak, and we'll just find a way to talk about the main topic and like just a freewheeling simple thing how we do it. Pranav, yeah, you have raised your hand. Like, what's up with Bollywood? Like, what do you think?
Yeah, so actually I've been like, so since I work, my background is I work in media and advertising. I'm actually an engineer and MBA, but I work in media management and branding strategy and all of that. So I work in Group M, which is the world's largest media agency. So we have a small entertainment sports property unit within Group M, which also deals with direct screenplay integrations, brand integrations. I have been a cinephile ever since I failed at IIT. So my motivation of getting into an MBA, which gave me freedom and creativity as well as business acumen, was to then go through MICA and get into an advertisement or media job. So the fate of Bollywood ever since COVID has always been like a cloud hanging over my mind. And as we entered 2022, I thought that, okay, 2021 was the second wave. People lost their loved ones. People also lost maybe their immediate parents. Also, I know people who lost their family. So I thought 2021 also, again, a communal experience in a dark room is not happening until this situation gets solved. December 2021, I don't see, like, I see South Indian cinema again bouncing back, but I don't see Hindi cinema. Again, Bollywood is a misnomer. Let's call it Hindi cinema because that is the proper term. So mainstream, I can't see mainstream Hindi cinema coming back with as much vigor as the South cinemas have. Okay, we can argue that they had state support then, because cinema and politics are deeply interlinked in the South, unlike the North. So, but then there was January, there was Q1 2022, there was we finished Q2 2022, and still we see that in terms of box office share of India, in terms of by language, in 2019, the Hindi film industry was at 42 to 44%. Now it has dropped down to 26% after the pan-India film phenomenon. 42% was Bollywood in 2019, 26% was the Telugu film industry. The outputs in terms of volumes of both these industries was more or less the same, around 200 plus films a year. Okay, of these industries individually. The tables have turned in 2022. Telugu cinema has an almost 34 to 35% share of the total box office of India till now. In 2020, 36% as if I say it right now, 36% till August 2022, and it's only going to increase because of the pan-India films that they've been releasing. The arguments now here, this is the symptom of a problem whose causes we'll have to identify, or some at least we could identify right now in this session. The symptoms are Bollywood share of revenue has decreased, number one. Number two, it has become more difficult to predict which film will get bums on seats, number two. Number three, this is not entirely true that what worked in 2019 will not work in 2022 because OTT has captured that mid-budget or low-budget film space. That is, again, I would say not true, because Kashmir Files is a film which had no mega superstar, it had no headlining, I would say, factor attached to it. It had no wow factor. They didn't even do promotions. The biggest promotion it had was from the government of India for reasons that are political, which I will not elaborate on. And that film should again not be considered to be a yardstick because it is a one-off. Then number three, shifting the focus on consumers. The penetration of film theaters in this country, of exhibition theaters in this country, is not more than 1.5%. So so in 140 crore people, not more than 1% have ever been to a theater in the last 1 month. TV is still huge. OTT has not more than 25 to 25 crore people, including free as well as paid subscribers. Paid subscribers are less than 50 lakh in total in the country. So we can't say that the people who used to watch cinema have now completely migrated to OTT, because that consumer base or that group still in surveys is saying that they would go to a theater if the film warrants that admission or that entry. The only thing that has happened is it is becoming tougher to get people into theaters. The big screen experience is not threatened, but the aesthetics or the syntax of what will work at the big screen might have changed because of 1.5 years which we spent. Wrapping up in what I wanted to say, one more thing is that we're saying that, okay, maybe the Hindi film industry has not sort of been able to capture the pulse of people because they were snoozing and sleeping during 2020 and 2021. That is not true. The films that have come out, the southern films that have so-called done 400 plus crores in 2022 were all films that were already in production in 2019. KGF's first Muhurat shot was in late 2019. RRR was in development from October 2018. And post-production was going on simultaneously because the budget of the film was more than 430 crores. Ramcharan, Tejas and Junior NTR's action sequences individually have cost more than 40 crore rupees, which are the budgets of smaller films. So is the Hindi film industry facing a lack of imagination? Is it not able to capture the pulse? Or is it just that the sort of content that it had slated for 2020 in the absence of a pandemic is actually something which has, in hindsight, not been able to appeal to people whose tastes might or might not have changed, but who have now been exposed to this massive, big budgeted, high risk, multi-starrer and I would say, phenomena inducing cinema, which will not be from any one industry, but will be a crossbreed of multiple industries coming together.
Thanks for starting off the conversation, Pranav. Harshit, any thoughts to add?
I'm just in awe.
We are always in awe, actually. We are always in awe.
प्रणव, आप एक बार अपना अनम्यूट करोगे, मुझे आपसे बात करनी है जरा.
हाँ नहीं बोलो.
आप प्रोफेशनली करते हो ये, like do you study films professionally or what?
No. I work in
film business.
I sell I sell condoms one week and I sell
you sell what?
Protein. I sell condoms one week and I sell protein shake the other week. I'm in advertising. I work in media and advertising.
Acha, so you do have to study these trends for your work.
Yeah, sometimes, but not directly. I work on actually consumer brands. I don't work on cinema, but cinema is a passion. So I look at industry trade as well as world cinema, as well as film festival cinema. So cinema has been a passion. So, but of course, because I studied marketing and advertising, so that lens of looking at the film business has of course changed over there.
Correct. नहीं यार, आप मैं आपको बता रहा हूँ, आप कोशिश करो थोड़ा, जरा एक दो production house, like write to a few production houses. They'll be more than privileged to have your services. इतना ज़्यादा मैं research कर रखा है ना, इतना production houses के जो मालिक होंगे उनको भी नहीं पता होंगी चीजें जितना आपने आपके tips पे है. पर बहुत सही है यार, good job. पर मतलब मेरे कोई, like I have nothing to add to whatever Pranav said, but I think I can the way that I've been looking at the shift that's been happening, it's very different, because I just feel like I personally see it as something that was inevitable and that I started seeing happening mainly during COVID. I think it was the first wave. I think the early months of COVID, when especially after the demise of Sushant Singh Rajput, and I think things just suddenly, like a domino effect, started happening after that. And of course, because so much politics started happening around the whole thing, and so much stuff happened now, and all these smear campaigns, hate campaigns started happening, and they actually had an impact, which we are seeing now, which I think a lot of people are not acknowledging. That started because of that. Because even if you see the films that were getting made before that, and the response that was there was a general perception around Hindi cinema, and that perception has shifted. And I'll tell you about, and I'll talk about this also from my own experience of working on Humans of Cinema, right? When I started Humans of Cinema, this was in October 2018. October 2018 I started. So I think the first 2 years or so of working on Humans of Cinema were starkly different from the experience that I've been having from the past 2 years. You'll also see that a shift happened in the kind of content that I was making on Humans of Cinema. That wasn't just a choice in terms of it was something that I wanted to do. It was also a shift that happened because the audience was changing. It wasn't just something that, like, of course, like, I'm very happy with the change. I'm glad that the shift happened from it being a very Hindi cinema centric platform to what it is now. And I'm very happy about that change. But that change happened more as a result of the trends that started changing. The kind of madness that people had towards films like Tamasha, Lutera, Masan, especially films that had these mainstream actors, films that were alternate at one point, but they weren't alternate anymore. Why? Because pages like Humans of Cinema, Gangs of Cinema, Fables of Film, and all these other people who have been talking about these films, they made these films mainstream. So many people started talking about these films, and the conversation around these films changed so much. And of course, right now I'm talking about a very small group. I'm only talking about the Instagram audience, which is just a small group of the people who are watching films in India, right? But let's just take this as a small sample space, correct? So this audience, the kind of madness that they had towards films like Dear Zindagi, Highway, etc., now that madness suddenly started dissipating. Why? Because now people had started looking at actors like Alia Bhatt and Ranbir Kapoor very differently because of all the stuff that happened during the demise thing, right? After the unfortunate demise of Sushant Singh Rajput, and I think things just suddenly started shifting after that. And I saw that shift happening myself. The kind of engagement that I was getting on my post, that started changing. So that's just a small reflection of the overall change that was happening that I can talk about from my experience, right? I think, of course, other things are also at play. The other things that a lot of people very rightfully point out, such as a lot of people who say that they are dissatisfied with the kind of films that were being made in Hindi cinema. And there is a lot of conversation happening around that. A lot of it is also very unwarranted in terms of now it's become almost like a vogue, right? And so many pages have come up, and all of these YouTube channels, etc. also, where it's almost it's the kind of hate that almost feels like propaganda, and we know that it is propaganda. And it's coming from a very different place. Some of it is politically motivated. Some of it is, I don't know. I mean, there could be a number of reasons, but not all of it is genuine. Not all of it is coming from a place of a love for cinema, is what I mean. I think most of it is not coming from that place. When these boycott Bollywood trends start happening over every little film that comes out, these things really affect the way that people perceive films, you know. We can talk from our own experiences, right? While growing up, especially I know for a fact that I've always been the kid who used to look forward to the weekly reviews. Every Saturday, I used to be up in the morning and I used to read reviews. And that used to influence my decision on whether or not I want to see the film. And that has always happened for everyone. Now it's changed from the newspapers to social media, and people do look at the IMDb page, of the film. And when, for example, a film like Chapak came out, which I don't know when Chapak came out, whether it was before.
It was January, I think, of 19.
It was just before COVID, because Deepika went and supported.
It was before COVID.
Yeah, just
before COVID. But
20, yeah.
But still, Chapak is an interesting example because of course, like, I'm not saying it's an amazing film or whatever, but it's not a film that deserves the kind of rating that it got on IMDb, you know. So that's what I mean. So what I mean is that because of all of this stuff, a film like Thappad as well, I think Thappad has really low ratings on IMDb, and it's a fantastic film. I think anyone who would see that film would agree, unless they have a very specific disdain against the people who are making the film. You know what I mean? So that's I think also a huge reason. So for example, when a film like Thappad comes out, and even though so many people loved the film, but the film still did not do great box office numbers, right? So when a film like that does not do the good numbers, then more films like Thappad will not get made, right? I was so happy when I saw Thappad, not because of the subject or not because of the messaging or any of that, but just because of the sheer filmmaking of it. In terms of, I felt like a mainstream film being a mainstream drama, because we don't get a lot of drama if you think about it. Whenever we have a drama from, let's say, that have actors like Akshay Kumar, for example, so their films were with a very specific purpose, you know, and they hardly ever just dramas. There's always a lot of comedy in them. For example, Atrangire also, right? Which I liked, for example, myself. I liked the film. But that being said, Atrangire I mean, it is a Bollywood film in terms of it has all the drama, it has all the masala, it has all the comedy. You know what I mean? But Thappad was a film that was very honest in its purpose. Thappad was a film that knew that it's a drama film, that knew that it's a contemporary urban film about a woman, and it stayed true to that purpose. And I love films like those. And I feel like in mainstream Hindi cinema, films like those do not get made, at least right at the moment, at least right now. Which is why I really liked the nature of that film. Not because of the messaging, but because of the film itself. So what I mean is that if we want films like those to keep getting made, but at the same time they will not do the numbers, they will not get the IMDb ratings, there's no way that they'll keep getting made, you know. So I think a huge reason for why the shift is happening has also got a lot to do with a lot of socio-political reasons than just the quality of the films, which I think is also a bone of contention. But I also feel like things were really starting to change, and they have been changing drastically as compared to, let's say, the kind of films that were getting made 10 years ago, you know, when films like Masan and Gangs of Wasipur were still alternate films, right? But they aren't alternate anymore. A film like Masan, even if it comes out today, it won't be an alternate film. Actually, it's difficult to say because at that point, Vicky Kaushal was a new actor. But at least a film like Gangs of Wasipur, for example, now like a film like Gangs of Wasipur has now become a template almost, you know, a gangster, whatever, like a gangster film, and that film gave rise to a genre of films. But what I mean is that a shift has happened in terms of the quality of films. But while that shift was happening, something else changed, because of which the whole system just got kind of shaken up. And I think it'll just take like 1 year or a couple more years for all of this to get sorted.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I think.
You know, but like I personally speaking, like when you mentioned about the fact that you used to, when you say पढ़ते थे आप कि भाई अगला रिव्यू क्या आया बचपन में, I also used to, मेरा भी फिल्म का initial knowledge also came from Times of India का, कि नीचे आते थे कितने स्टार रेटिंग दिए, cinematography word क्या होता है, screenplay word क्या होता है, I understood all of that from there. So I think I owe a lot to that, but I have also felt that I'm not blaming anybody here or any particular platform here per se, but what I personally have felt is that जजमेंट बहुत जल्दी आ चुका होता है किसी फिल्म पे, फिल्म रिलीज होने के आधे एक घंटे के अंदर, या फिर मैं रात को 12 बजे नेटफ्लिक्स पे आई, सुबह 6 बजे 7 बजे उठूं मैं और ऑलरेडी रिव्यू आ चुके हैं, हो क्या रहा है. एंड I mean, I understand the first mover advantage to all of that, and like from a consumer, from a business standpoint and all of that, but it's become so, like I am waking up and I already know Good Luck Jerry is a bad film, or like some other film that is coming out is not a good film. So like even if I want to watch, let's say Shamshera, and just have a fine time because like I have liked Agnipath, so I want to watch Karan Malhotra's films again. So but तभी वो मैं नहीं कर रहा हूँ because एक already notion आ गया, you can't avoid any of these reviews because आप हर platform पे आपके सामने है वो, मतलब I want to know from others also like about this, मतलब has this changed for you, या फिर पहले से आप मतलब like how has the judgment for you changed, मतलब because इतना जल्दी से आजकल judgment बनने लग गया चीजों पे, is it become difficult for you to also decide a film objectively at least? Siddharth?
Yeah, hi. So my major thing that I really look forward to, so it's been ever since we were kids and everything, used to, as you just mentioned, we used to look up newspapers, used to, we had Book My Show at that time, but we didn't know how to operate it that much. So we used to get newspapers, see all the Soka timings, accordingly go to this movie and actually watch it. So it used to be a fun procedure to go through. So you had that anticipation, you had that excitement, yes, we are going to finally go for the movie, so gathering your friends and everyone. And the most irritating part these days is that you watch the movie and within a month, it's going to be on Netflix, on any OTT platform basically. And the problematic situation about that is, there's like a major difference now. For example, back when we were in school at least, you used to at least have to wait 7 to 8 months before the movie is coming, at least on TV. OTT तो बहुत दूर का बात हो गया कभी. You are waiting for a couple of months, not even, sometimes it used to take a fucking year for a movie to at least air on TV.
I remember Three Idiots, bro. When Three Idiots, पहली बात तो वो 4-5
2
महीना
साल
तो
बाद।
पहले
2 साल
मतलब
बाद
2
कम
साल
से कम
बाद
4 महीना तो वो पहले मतलब निकली नहीं थी पर्दे
निकली
से।
नहीं थी एग्जैक्टली
हाँ, और फिर आई रिमेम्बर मैंने स्कूल से छुट्टी लिया बिकॉज क्या होता है रात को 9 बजे स्ट्रीम होती है मूवी संडे को। अब
या
सोने सोने में 12 साढ़े 12 होंगे या और ज्यादा लेट होगा बिकॉज एड इतने लंबे लंबे आते हैं बीच में, ऑलरेडी लॉन्ग फिल्म।
लॉन्ग
अब
फिल्म
दिन छुट्टी लेना ही पड़ता है तो एवरीबडी टुगेदर टुक छुट्टी ऑन मंडे बिकॉज संडे को थ्री इडियट्स आने वाली है, सोनी या सब किसी पे आने वाली है।
Exactly.
I
So
remember
it
that.
used to be a family thing as well. Like आपका पूरा family बैठ के you're going to watch the movie together. You're going to enjoy the first-hand experience. अभी people who didn't get to watch it in the theaters are anyways going to wait for it to come on come on TV at that time. And so now it's a good thing as well and a bad thing as well. So for me, I am a person who loves to go to the theater and watch a movie. Maybe my second third was definitely मैं घर पे बैठ के देख लूंगा एक बार, but the first hand experience of the movie it's supposed to be felt is what I feel always. Like for example for Pushpa, it was so irritating that none of my timings matched or the people I wanted to watch it with weren't free or something, and at the end I had to watch it on TV because there was no option for me to go to the theaters. And when everybody got free, basically the movie was about to get out of it because there were other movies lined up. And for me personally, it's not just about Bollywood. I actually love watching movies in every language possible. So there's English, of course, there are other languages. The problem in India and for right now as well is that apart from Bollywood, of course, there are basic and the most mainstream Hollywood movies also that are being releasing for us. Apart from that, we don't get to watch much. Like other cinema, other I don't know what other is. There is a lot of cinema available in the world. It's just that we do not have access to it. So somewhere or the other, I feel that because of this shift, that how OTT is like just bringing in everything together as soon as possible because it's convenient. Up movies आने के लिए the amount you are paying for 5 movies is the amount you're going to pay for an entire year at a OTT platform. And that is how people see it now. A little monetarily as well and a little convenience as well. कि मैं क्यों जाऊं थिएटर तक, इतना मेहनत क्यों करना है, मैं जब तक घर पे बैठ के एक महीने बाद में भी देख लूंगा. This was literally what my father said even when we were about to book the tickets for RRR. इसे एक महीने में तो आ जाएगा ना, क्यों उधर जाके देखना है. And I'm like, नहीं, this is something you need to experience in the theater.
आरआर तो थिएटर में बनता है भाई.
थिएटर में बन रहा है भाई. It's not a movie to be watched on TV, at least not for the first time. And I don't know why, but as I've mentioned, I don't remember the last Bollywood movie I've watched in the theater because it's been so long. And weirdly enough, like as I'm saying it right now, the last movie I still have to check it, but the last movie that it just comes to my mind right now is Rooney for some reason. I watched it in the theater because that was the first movie that was out after the pandemic last year. And so I actually follow a lot of movies. So for example, ब्रह्मास्त्र तो अभी मैं बोलूंगा नहीं तो वे तो और एक घंटा चला जाएगा इसके बीच में. But there are movies that I've been following and I know about, and it takes a long period of time for it to get to the theater. Abhi, for example, as you were mentioning, RRR was supposed to release back in 2020. It just took him 2 years because of the whole pandemic situation for it to move forward. For example, Lal Singh Chaddha tha, Suryavanshi tha. All of these Bollywood related movies were supposed to release in 2020, Brahmastra as well, but all of these did not get.
तो शुरू से आ रही है. अभी भी आई नहीं, मुझे लग रहा है अभी भी कुछ ना कुछ डाउट लग रहा है मुझे.
नहीं, I have faith in him now. It's fine. It's going to come. It's going to come right now. So more or less the whole problematic situation just comes in because of OTT. I'm not saying that it's bad. It's just that the matter of convenience has brought people back to their place, like back to their home, rather than actually going and enjoying a movie. So yeah, I mean, more on that later.
Yeah. Arnab, please go ahead.
Hi. Yeah, I think first of all, welcome Harshit to Abstract. First time interacting with you personally, actually. Have been following Humans of Cinema since long. Don't remember when, but yeah, since long, obviously. The upcoming question, the upcoming problem which I find most irritating these days is I mean even I would say that even I am a part of it, because everyone, like with the social media boom which the pandemic has given us, a very negative aspect which has come up with that is everyone has become a film critic, or everyone chooses to be a film critic. We don't mind reading a HOC or a GOC post, uh, waking up after after us, even before seeing the film. uh, but like when everyone becomes a critic and there is like every other opinion in every other story. Like I remember this very recently, this time when this movie, what was this name, Gehraya came up now. Like even before we could wake up, the entire world has seen it, and there are like the good, bad, like entirely polarized reactions all over the Instagram. So like here I know, like me and Adri also, we are a part of this same Instagram community. We have our relatively less popular pages, but we also have our own blogs. So somehow or the other, in this journey, what has become is that the mysticism is gone. I mean, and good, bad, or the other, we tend to I mean, once you read it, how do you unread it or how do you unscrew your mind from that part? Once someone says that like Garage is bad, or when someone says okay, Garage is super good, it's a masterpiece, like then how do you watch the film without a bias? Then automatically there comes a bias. So like I remember people like they go on deactivating their own Instagram handles or sometimes just to avoid spoilers, just to avoid like reviews. Even I do, like I if I am keen about any particular movie which I really want to see, maybe in theaters, maybe in OTT, whatever, I make sure that I skip through all the stories or like go through all, like just miss through all the posts for that time being, so that I can come back to it later and read. That's fine. But the first-hand experience of watching a film, wherever it might be, and forming an opinion on yourself, not even needed that we need an opinion always. It's about sometimes just enjoying the film. It's just
Yeah.
about to enjoy the film. You always do not need an opinion. You always, maybe your opinion is right, maybe your opinion is wrong. Up to long time I had a very like wrongly formed notion about Article 15 and what are the problems and etc, etc. So I'll not go into that, but that is it. Like, but when I had seen the movie way back, I was not aware, and like honestly I wasn't. So it was okay to have, for me to have a wrong opinion. So when people, when we look up to these pages, like like Harshit's blog, Human Society is such a hugely popular name. The people like Juhi Chaturvedi, they have mentioned his page, like in interviews and proper. I remember Shobit probably mentioning it. Like Juhi Chaturvedi was in a session, and she mentioned that if you want to know about film critic or film criticism or film analysis, basically, I won't say even criticism, I'd say analysis, because that's a very generic term, I feel.
Yeah,
So
they're doing this thing also, now this
yeah, they're doing a
workshop also
session.
now.
Yeah, they're doing
Yeah,
a
yeah, yeah.
workshop also.
All the
So
best on that, man. By the way.
he and Ahona. So I mean, if you're looking up to a certain page or a certain blog, that is fine. Even not necessary that like with all due respect to everyone, it's not necessary you'll always agree to them. What Harshit might find very nice, like Ahona, who is a co-creator, might not, they might have a difference of opinion, right? So
Yeah.
it's not a big deal, but to make it a polarized situation for the audiences out there, that somewhere, and like everyone, like not only people like us, I'm not like, I'm just taking them as an example because Harshit is here amongst us. So I think that becomes a little problematic somewhere these days because of I mean, again, the pros and the cons. So Instagram, which has given us, many of us, recognition, uh, when people come and say me, like, okay, like I read a post of yours, this page and all, it really feels good. Obviously if someone comes and says, Adri, that like I did a post of one perspective and it was really good. So obviously, I'm sure he feels good. Everyone should. We does. Even if we post maybe relatively less, or we post that whatever we put our little bit of efforts in it. So that feels good. But given that, we should also have this caution, everyone, that we are not just like going ahead into like just because we didn't like the film, we can go and spew hate about it. If you do not like them, then that's fine. It's okay to like and dislike things in your life, right? We all have that basic right with us. So I think that has become a little problematic these days with any kind of like Bollywood, non-Bollywood, any kind of content.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
there was this polarized, the very polarized reaction with this last Marvel movie which came up, I think Doctor Strange. I'm not a MCU person. I don't remember the last name. Doctor Strange, I think.
Yeah.
So there were many people who were okay with it. There were many people who didn't love it. There were many people who hated it. So that's the kind of thing.
Yeah. I think so. I think what is happening also is the fact that, like what you mentioned, I think it's good also that it's so democratized now that you can have your opinion, voice your opinion, and put it out. But I recently heard some podcasters say this. Ki I sometimes feel that 90% of Twitter is just bots. मतलब है ही नहीं उसके अलावा कुछ. But and एक वो भी है aspect and दूसरा aspect ये भी कि if you zoom out a little bit, how huge is the social media and how huge is it really, कितना impact actually कर भी रहा होगा. मतलब if I don't even know that exactly because हम लोग हमारे लेंस से देख रहे हैं, हमारा पहला instinct होता है कि हम जाके देखें. But मेरे डैड का नहीं होता. For example, my dad did not know Shamshera was coming out until it was coming out. He did not know कि क्या numbers रहे क्या नहीं रहे. And he is the perfect example of कि भाई जो the common man उस sense में जो film देखने जाता है for having a good time and all of that. So I don't think it's impacting him. So I don't even know if we are having a very skewed understanding of it and just feeling because वो एक जगह पे बहुत centered है इस वजह से इतना ज़्यादा impact कर रहा है कि actually कुछ impact कर भी रहा है उस चीज़ का. But yeah, Janani, please go ahead. I think many people have raised their hands. I think we should really quickly pick this up. Yeah.
Hi. Every time I want to go to a movie, if not for the actors, I open Book My Show and see the rating. I observe the trend for 2 days. If it's somewhere around 89 to 95, that means it's a watchable film. And I will decide if it's nice or not. But there are few movies, depending on the actors, that I go to, irrespective of how bad the review is. I just need to know why it is that bad. I watched Geraya, and before I watched Geraya released on some Thursday, and I watched it on Friday night to Saturday. By the time every Instagram post, every story spoke about it, Atrangi Re the same way. It had such mixed reviews. People either loved it or hated it. There was no one in there's no review that was in between. And it just felt like because of the reviews, I felt like I also had to watch it to analyze the film. I should decide if I like it or not to enjoy the film or not to understand what is happening in the film. And even with RRR, as a Telugu speaking person, RRR was something that I was looking forward to, and I was moving to Bangalore that day. I could not go to the movie the first day. Tickets were not there in Hyderabad. In Bangalore, I got it very easily. But Friday release, Saturday night, I went to the movie. By the time everyone's story was the whole movie. Like everyone sends out snaps of the title of the interval scene that is supposed to be the best scene of the movie. I've seen it before I went to the theater. And I had to put up a story on Instagram. Please do not put the spoilers. I haven't watched it. There are movies where, you know what are the spoilers? I don't even watch the trailers of the film because I feel nowadays all the trailers just give away the story, especially for rom-coms or especially even for Darlings was a little misleading. That's a different story. But every other trailer almost gives out the story.
Yeah.
There's no point in watching the trailer. There is no point in seeing the review. It just spoils the whole essence of the film for me. So that's why if I plan on going to any movie, I just go the very first day. Shamshera, I was supposed to go at 12 o'clock. I got the review by 10 o'clock. I saw it was 61% on the first day. I canceled my tickets. I didn't go. But I had very high hopes for Ranbir Kapoor in the movie. And then I watched Charita Tyag review on Instagram. She said the movie diverted. I was like, if she's saying it, I'm not watching it. I think these reviews unknowingly, now that this topic came up and I'm actually thinking about it, these have such high influence on me personally when I'm watching the films. It just sets the tone for me of the film. Like if a lot of people say that it's nice, I just see why it's nice. I'm not trying to understand the other aspects of the film. That happened with a lot of movies in the recent times, especially. So I don't know.
Yeah.
It's not a good. It's both. Like it's good for you to escape from bad movies, but it's also bad that you get all the information that you're supposed to go and watch in the theater pre-hand.
Right. Yeah. Harshit, any thoughts on this? I think you're muted, buddy.
See, I am somebody like, even on the page I've often spoken about how I'm not really fond of the way film criticism especially happens. in not just in India, actually, the culture of film criticism all over the world is really skewed. I personally feel it's a culture that's become really archaic, and it's not really getting acknowledged that it's archaic and needs a lot of revision. A lot of people did have this conversation many years ago when people like Godard and Truffaut in France tried to start an alternate journey with respect to conversations around films, when they started bringing in a culture of film discussions where they were having a more thoughtful conversation about films instead of just putting out their reviews. Because the problem is, and in fact I had this conversation with a really famous critic as well one time, and he also said the same thing. Like, he was admitting to it, and I'm talking about somebody who was really experienced in this profession, right? And he also spoke about how it's something that's kind of an evil of the job, that it's almost like a race for them, that when they see the film, they start writing the review as soon as they sit in their cars, because it's eventually a race of who is going to put out the first review, because that's going to get the clicks, because people are going to search on Google the reviews for the film, and the first link that appears, that's the link that people are going to open, and that's going to get the revenue, and that's the race, and that's always been the case, because it's always been the Saturday game. And all of us have been there, where we have subscribed to this culture, we have waited for the reviews and we have read them, and we haven't been able to wait past Saturday for the reviews, and that's how the culture has been. But that culture needs to change, because an opinion on a film cannot be formed, and a piece on a film cannot be formed in such short time. It's just not something that does justice to any kind of film. Like, even when we talk about films that are objectively and just universally accepted as bad, even for those films, it's not fair, because unless, of course, it's a film that's promoting harmful ideas, that's a different thing. But I'm talking about a film that, let's say, is not promoting any harmful ideas, but it's just a bad film, right? Which also, I think, is a really subjective, it's a conversation that needs to happen by itself, whether or not we can call a film bad or good objectively. But let's say there is a film that's universally being called bad, right? Like, let's say a film like Deshdrohi. Even a film like that, I feel like...
Hero 2.
Huh?
Or Hero 2 for that matter, like recently IGV.
Like, let's say Hero 2.
Yeah.
Right. Even though there would still be like a small audience of people in the country that would really enjoy that film. But let's still talk about just the fact that, let's say, the people that are around us and the people that we interact with, for them, mostly 90% of the people, they would say that it's a bad film. But even a film like that, I feel like we need to give more time. And all I'm saying is that even if we have to talk about why the film is bad, it needs more effort, needs more research. And what we really need to do is, instead of just panning certain aspects of the film, I feel like the conversation that needs to happen is, we need to understand why a film like this is doing so well, and why a film like this is still getting made. I feel like those are the conversations that critics that have been employed by big media houses, they need to start. You know what I mean? Otherwise, I feel like the stuff that they're writing, they're opinions. That's all they are. They're opinions that any of us here are capable of writing. Any person actually sitting in their homes is capable of writing, because a lot of times I read reviews which say things which are as trivial as that I found the voice of the character annoying. That's not a logical or a rational criticism of any kind. Like, that's an opinion. You found the voice annoying or irritating. That doesn't mean that, one, it has any rational effect on the quality of the film, or you are actually logically explaining why you did not like the film, or why the film is bad. You are saying that you found the voice annoying because of your own, let's say, certain biases towards a certain kind of voice. You know what I mean? So that's an opinion, and that is stuff like this is passing off as criticism, and that's the problem. Of course, this used to be I mean, this is like these film reviews, these very film reviews were very important, were a very important part of my growing up years, and they were a very important part of why I fell in love with films, because they were writings about cinema, and that's what I'm doing now. But I have to say that now I've really kind of grown wary of them in a lot of ways, and I think more research needs to go while writing a piece about any film. You know, a film that's taken months and months to make. So many people are involved in the making of film, and I feel like at least there has to be some kind of balance to it in terms of the amount of time that's been given in order to write about the film. You know what I mean? So yeah, I mean that's what I think about this, and I think with respect to social media, I think that's going to happen, because but at least over there we know that their opinions, right?
Yeah.
Over there on social media, it's very clear that it's a profile of a person where that person is putting out their own opinion. And even on social, even on Humans of Cinema, even though it's like an organization and all of that, but still in the bio I've now updated that it's not a review platform. I want to make it very clear that it's a platform where we are giving out our own opinions. It's a platform where we are putting out our thoughts on cinema, and that's it. Like, we're just putting out our observations on cinema, and it needs to be as clear as that.
Yeah.
You know, and on social media it's very clear. Like, if I'm seeing your story, Sankalp, I know that it's an opinion that's coming from Sankalp. So that's a very different thing. But when a media organization, or like a newspaper is giving out a film review and calling it a review, and it's supposed to be, you know what I'm saying, like, you know what the problem with it's all in the syntax, it's all in how it's presented, how the culture is presented, as if film reviews are supposed to be the ultimate verdict on the film. Like that's how we look at film criticism as of now, and I think that really needs to change. I think the social media stuff is going to happen. Like, that always happened. We used to go to our colleges and we used to discuss films, and that back then those opinions used to influence our opinion of the film. So that will always happen. I don't think that is something that will ever change. But as far as the criticism culture goes, that's something that I think needs a lot of revision.
Right. Yeah. I think the point you mentioned about the syntax and all also makes a lot of sense, because the thumbnails, for example, smaller things like the thumbnails of certain reviews, or the kind of things that are written in the caption itself or the title itself, या फिर ये सब चीजों से भी काफी पता चल जाता है कि मतलब मुझे देखने की जरूरत भी नहीं रिव्यू, उसमें उसके ऐसे एक्शन किया हुआ है उसने, so I know कि यार चलो नहीं देखनी फिल्म है. I don't even have to watch the review, like if it's a YouTube video review, I don't even need to watch that. I just ये आ गया and चलो ठीक है, फिर तो बस यही होगा, फिल्मों कुछ बचा ही नहीं है. I think it's become so reductive in that sense, because I have recently started screenwriting myself, so I know how tough it is to think about small details. अभी तो बहुत पहले स्टेज पे हूँ मैं. When the film gets made, I realized कितना कुछ जाता है इसके पीछे, especially people who are like Avinash, for example, who is a filmmaker himself. He knows, अरे भाई कितने लोग का involvement है, कितना time जाता है, कितना फट से लोग आप, because it, I mean, what I have understood is that it can affect your identity itself as well. Or like if you are a filmmaker and आपकी फिल्म को अरे क्या फालतू छोड़ना. So
यार नहीं, मैं वही बोल रहा हूँ कि अब देखो, और आप सोचो कि इतने सारे लोग एक फिल्म पे काम करते हैं, सब कुछ करते हैं, और आपकी फिल्म के बारे में क्या ओपिनियन पास किया जा रहा है कि मेरे को तो एक कैरेक्टर की आवाज नहीं अच्छी लगी. समझ रहे हो? मतलब भाई ठीक है, तुम्हें वो एक चीज नहीं अच्छी लगी, बट लाइक व्हाट अबाउट द 1000 other things that were possibly done well? Even a film like Heropanti 2, for example. It's like, again, even the way that we review film and see films is so reductive in terms of a film is either good or bad. But I'm telling you that even in a film like Heropanti, I haven't seen it yet, but even in a film like Heropanti, I'll tell you 10 really good things, which may not be, which may not have anything to do with the acting or the story, but it still would be something that new filmmakers or new writers or anyone can probably learn from or take something away from,
Right.
Baki sab bhi chodo. Films, every film that comes out, even a film like Deshdrohi, is such a great document of the times that we are living in. It's such a great document. It's such a great token of the world that we are in, of a certain type of person that exists in the world, and such a great way of studying that person. You know, कितना कुछ हो सकता है यार एक फिल्म से, मतलब बुरी से बुरी फिल्म के साथ में हम लोग कितना कुछ समझ सकते हैं दुनिया के बारे में, और हम लोग कितना उसको कैसे यूज कर रहे हैं कि भाई ये फिल्म खराब है अच्छी है, और इसमें समझ रहे हो वो जो रिव्यूज आ रहे हैं ना उनसे बहुत ज्यादा बेहतर वो एडिट्स हैं जो कि लोग फनी एडिट्स बनाते हैं उनके ऊपर, क्योंकि वो फनी एडिट्स बहुत अच्छा तरीका है समझने का कि वो फिल्म कैसे अफेक्ट कर रही है उस इंसान को जिसने वो एडिट बनाया. You know what I mean? Like that person is probably like, even if that person is making fun of the film, but still it's such a great interpretation of how he or she or that person viewed the film and how it affected the psyche of that person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
अभी मैं एक पीछे मामी के लिए मैंने एक वर्कशॉप दी थी, तो उसमें मेरे साथ एक there was this person who was he was an American person and he makes video essays for some media companies. उन्होंने इतना अच्छा एग्जांपल दिया, उन्होंने एक एडिट बनाया हुआ था गुड फेलास का जो वाला सीन है ना, यू थिंक दिस इज फनी, व्हाट्स फनी अबाउट दिस, वो जो वाला सीन है जो पेशी का, तो उस वाले सीन का एक उन्होंने एडिट बनाया हुआ था जिसमें उन्होंने उस वाले सीन को एक सिटकॉम की तरह प्रेजेंट किया, उसके अंदर लाफ ट्रैक्स डाल दिए, साइनफील्ड का म्यूजिक डाल दिया, ठीक है, तो वो बस एक फनी वीडियो है. From on the face of it, it's a funny video. Like we see edits like that all the time. But then we spoke about this. Ki it's such a great way of studying how the perception of the viewer completely gets affected only based on how a scene is edited, right? उस सीन को एडिट कर दिया, इस तरीके से प्रेजेंट कर दिया कि जब वो सीन का इंटीरियर आया उससे पहले एक एक्सटीरियर शॉट दिखाया बाहर का, उसके बाद इंटीरियर शॉट जब आया तो उसके बाद हर डायलॉग के बाद लाफ ट्रैक आ रहा है, म्यूजिक चल रहा है, और इन वाली चीजों से वो पूरा सीन ही चेंज हो गया, समझ रहे हो? So that's such a great way of studying the scene. That's such a great way of studying the film. The same thing could have been done on a scene from देशद्रोही also. And हम लोग यहाँ पे बैठ कर भी डिस्कस कर रहे होते कि वाह यार, मतलब एक देशद्रोही जैसी फिल्म को भी हम लोग एक सिटकॉम की तरह प्रेजेंट कर सकते हैं और इससे हम लोग कितना कुछ सीख सकते हैं फिल्म एडिटिंग के बारे में. You know what I mean? So that's what I mean. Like the conversation has become really reductive. Yeah. And this is not just in India. This is all over the world. ये US का है ये पूरा, जो कि इंडिया में आके बिल्कुल ऐसे बैठ गया है और कोई भी चेंज नहीं कर रहा है, इसको कोई बदलने की कोशिश भी नहीं कर रहा है. That conversation needs to happen. Is what I feel.
Right. Harsh, please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. So first of all, hi Harshit. Actually, I'm a fan of your page. So thank you for creating this content regularly.
Hi Harsh, thank you so much.
Yeah. So I'll give my personal take on the main question on like where's Bollywood heading. So what I personally feel. So I have been into like both sides of the spectrum. Like I have been on a very Bollywood romanticism, consumer to a person who on the woke side, I would say, of the cinema. So I personally feel what has happened over here is in India is that, earlier there were like just two groups of people in India, and major chunk of people was the group of people, even the old age or the child age or the young age, who believed in the Bollywood's grandiosity, and who believed in Bollywood romanticism. What Bollywood has shown us is the actual romantic, right? And then there was a small group of people, even back then, who used to consume the other stories from the other part of the world. But there was very so small group of people that this media also didn't care about them. Now what is happening is that this chunk is growing, and the major reason is because of the access to information. These people has got access to, like, today we watch K-dramas. I don't know, like back in my school days, even people know about Korea, not K-dramas. No? So that's what I'm trying to say, that the access to information, has played major part here. Now what has happened is that we are related to three kinds of people. There's one group of people who has consumed a lot of content, and for them every content should mean something. If for me personally, let's say if I'm consuming something, it should mean something. It shouldn't be a same old story of a love story where a villain comes and then at the end it just sorts up. I don't want that story there. And I guess for most of us it's the same case. And then there's the other part of the India which we don't talk about or which we don't know about. Like I have a first-hand experience. My uncle has a cinema. He owns a cinema where where you see this movies like Prem Danpayo are doing constantly houseful. Like we won't love this movie, but they are doing constantly houseful. Why? Because there's a lot of people who are from the labor class. For them, they don't want to put their brains in a movie. They want a simple, plain content. एक है, एक issue है, एक villain है, hero आके बचाता है. Simple story. They are okay with that. Okay, and even up till some time, we are also okay with that stories. We also believed in those stories. That's why we were in that bigger chunk, and that's why these film houses didn't have any issue. But now suddenly we have come to the other side where we know कि नहीं यार ये तो देख रखा है. And then there's a middle group, एक transitioning group है जिसने सब अभी देखा है. जियो के आने के बाद उनको नेटफ्लिक्स मिला है. अब now they have seen this and now they are becoming cool. तो अभी आप देख रहे हो कि हम देख रहे हैं ये जैसे लाल सिंह चड्ढा के लिए लोग एकदम क्रिटिसाइज कर रहे हैं उसको कि यार ये क्या बना दिया गोलगप्पे वगैरह. आई अग्री मैं भी नहीं देखूंगा मूवी पर्सनली, बट क्रेडिट ड्यू है कि लाल सिंह चड्ढा विल जो फॉरेस्ट गंप की एक स्टोरी है 1 बिलियन लोगों तक ले जाएगा लाल सिंह चड्ढा, जो शायद कभी नहीं जा पाता. तो आई थिंक वो क्रेडिट देना चाहिए हमें उस मूवी को. हम आज की डेट में लेट्स से फॉर एग्जांपल मोहब्बतें आता तो कोई ऐसा आज लोग वही बोलते हैं यार डेड पॉइंट सोसाइटी कितनी अच्छी मूवी है, क्या कर दिया. उस वक्त वो ग्रैंडियोस बन गया, उस वक्त लोगों ने इतना एक्सेप्ट करा उसको, राइट. आज मीम्स बनते प्रति उस परंपरा प्रतिष्ठान अनुशासन पे ये क्या कर दिया डेड पॉइंट सोसाइटी का, राइट. तो आई थिंक जो वो एक बीच में जो फेज ऑफ एक ग्रुप ऑफ पीपल है जो कूल बनने की ट्राई कर रहे हैं, एंड इट्स ओके लाइक एवरीवन हैज देयर ओपिनियन, बट आई पर्सनली फील हर मूवी का एक जो मोटिव है इट वाज देयर बैक देन आल्सो, अभी भी है, बट इट्स जस्ट दैट कि वो इंफॉर्मेशन एक्सेस की वजह से इट जस्ट हैज like the way we see movies has changed. And इस सबसे इफेक्ट कहाँ पे आ रहा है? I think इफेक्ट आ रहा है majorly on this Bollywood production houses. Like उनके लिए अब वो मेजर चंक था बहुत टूट चुका है. अब now they can't target with one movie, one people. तो आप देख रहे हो अब धीरे-धीरे वो फेज आ रहा है कि जहाँ पे फैमिली मूवी के अंदर भी बहुत सारे कस वर्ड्स हैं, because they are trying to appeal everyone with one movie. पर यार वो नहीं हो सकता. अब तुम उस स्टेज में नहीं हो कि तुम एक मूवी लाओगे और ब्लॉकबस्टर बन जाएगी और ऐसा हो जाएगा. You will have to pick your target audience. You will have to make movies targeted to a particular audience, and I think that's where they need to change their focus.
Great point, man. I think Avinash notes बना लो जाके अपने boss को देना. But yeah, I think that really makes sense, यार. Adri, I wanna ask you what's up. What do you think about this?
मेरे 2-3 कुछ अलग पॉइंट्स है बिकॉज इतना सब कुछ यार लोगों ने बोल दिया. एंड फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल वेलकम हर्षित. It's been a pleasure that you are here and talking with us.
So मेरे 2-3 अभी तक हम लोग हर्षित को वेलकम ही कर रहे हैं.
वेलकम ही कर रहे हैं हम, चाहते हुए भी लाइक ऐसा ही रहेगा. So नहीं मेरे 2-3 अलग पॉइंट्स है बिकॉज आई थिंक मैंने भी एक इंटरव्यू सुना था जिसमें Anupama Chopra was asking to the I think Nikhil, he's the CEO of this Applause Entertainment, that why Satyamev Jayate 2, why that film. And I thought that कि वो एक बहुत important discussion बनता है यहाँ पे because there are certain contracts that director have with production houses and they have to make a film. I mean, it's something that is legal that they have to make a film, and you know, story कैसी भी हो, even the actor, even John has said that he knows that it's going to fail, it's going to bomb, but he still have to be there, you know, doing a job like 9 to 5 जैसे हमने किया और वापस आ गए, do not even enjoying the acting. So I think अगर इस तरीके का कल्चर है in the film industry that you have certain films and certain products of these kind going in the pipeline, then obviously उनका frequency ज़्यादा होगा as compared to the pictures like for example Gangubai who is actually you know played on its merit कि भाई picture अच्छा है, SLB का है, and obviously Alia played a very decent role. But अगर ऐसी films हैं जहाँ पे you know that it's going to bomb and you're still going to produce it and the marketing and the promotions are going to happen, then obviously perception ही force किया जा रहा है और picture में भी कुछ नहीं है, तो वो बॉम्ब होना ही है. एंड दूसरी तरफ अगर हम देखें साउथ का या जो हम लोग बोल रहे हैं वहां पे परसेप्शन ही अलग है क्योंकि उस तरीके का प्रमोशन हो रहा है एंड फिल्म में क्वालिटी है. दूसरा आई थिंक एक और चीज मुझे लगता है कि जहां पे एक तरफ ये फिल्म्स रिडंडेंट हो रही हैं, जहां पे क्वालिटी नहीं है, वहां पे हम लोग ये मतलब हम एज एन ऑडियंस जितने भी लोग हैं हम लोग ये भूल जा रहे हैं दैट ओटीटी पे देयर आर सो गुड कंटेंट इन टर्म्स ऑफ एंथोलॉजीज. लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल गीली पुच्ची का अगर एग्जांपल लूं मैं, या फिर मैं एग्जांपल लूं जो मॉडर्न लव अभी आया था उसमें आई लव थाने था, दोस आर आल्सो हिंदी फिल्म्स, राइट? दोस आर आल्सो पार्ट ऑफ बॉलीवुड, बट नो वन इज गोइंग टू टॉक अबाउट दैट बिकॉज बॉक्स ऑफिस नंबर्स नहीं है. इट्स नॉट दैट वी आर नॉट प्रोड्यूसिंग कंटेंट. अगर वो शॉर्ट कंटेंट है, एंथोलॉजी में आ गया, यू आर लविंग इट, यू हैव रिटन द पोस्ट, people are talking about it, but you're not going to say कि यार ये भी तो हिंदी फिल्म का पार्ट है, ये थोड़ी ना अलग है. अगर उसी टाइम पे शमशेर आई है, उसी टाइम पे वो गीली पुच्ची आई है, तो आपके ऊपर है ना, आपको क्या देखना है. People will watch it, but people will not say कि यार अच्छा कंटेंट भी प्रोड्यूस हो रहा है, इन टर्म्स ऑफ कि अगर वो शॉर्ट कंटेंट हो गया, एंथोलॉजी हो गया, तो उसका एकदम ही हमने अलग ही उसको रख दिया. दैट इज ऑल्सो कमिंग फ्रॉम द हिंदी फिल्म इंडस्ट्री, राइट? सो देयर इज अ वेरी डिफरेंशिएशन इट विद द कंटेंट. फिल्म को एक अलग ही लेवल पे देखा जा रहा है और कंटेंट को एक अलग ही उसमें देखा जा रहा है, एक सेम वे में नहीं देखा जा रहा. मुझे लगता है ये एक बहुत बड़ा रीजन है जहाँ पे आई मीन वी एज एन ऑडियंस नीड्स टू बी वेरी अवेयर कि कंटेंट आ कहाँ से रहा है. आई मीन वो भी हिंदी फिल्म इंडस्ट्री का ही बहुत बड़ा पार्ट है. और दूसरा मुझे एक बहुत मुझे लगता है दैट हाउ द फिल्म प्रोसेस हैज चेंज इज दैट एक तरफ हम रील्स देखते हैं जहाँ पे अटेंशन स्पैन बिल्कुल जीरो हो जाएगा अभी कुछ आने वाले समय में, और एक तरफ हमारे पास बिंज वॉच करने के लिए बतेरी सीरीज पड़ी हुई है. वहां पे हम 8-8 घंटे बैठ जाएंगे, अपने को कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं रहेगी. सो इन बिटवीन द फिल्म्स विल कम जहां पे अपने को 2 घंटा बैठना है, और अगर मैं थिएटर की बात करूं तो चल के जाना भी है, मेट्रो भी लेनी है, कैब भी लेनी है. देयर इज अ लॉट ऑफ customer involvement is there. So only the people who are want to go, they will go. Now what will happen in this process, which I feel, because the attention span is breaking from 0 to 8 hours, people will try to edit the film in a certain way that it catches your attention so that you can stay there for 2 hours, and in that process the quality degrades. And when the quality degrades, obviously फिर ये conversation हमारी हो जाती है that why Bollywood is failing. Because if you want to really, अगर हम trailers भी देखें, they want to cut the trailers in a way that it gets the attention. वहीं पे पूरी story बता देते हैं. This is where they are not getting the point that it's not always getting the attention, because digital की वजह से transitions हो रहे हैं, but आप अपना core मत छोड़िए. जिस तरीके से पहले चीजें चल रही थी, कुछ था, ऑल्टरनेटिव कंटेंट्स हैं, मैं मानता हूँ ऑल्टरनेटिव कंटेंट्स हैं, बट दैट डजंट मीन दैट मूवी बनाने का प्रोसेस और उसके अंदर की जो टेक्निकलिटीज है वो चेंज हो जाएंगी. लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल, आई वांटेड टू वॉच आरके पुणे में लगी ही नहीं है, बट मैंने फ्रेंड से बोला, इधर से करा जुगाड़ करी आरके मैंने, फिर वो करी थी अपने घोड़े को जलेबी खिलाने ले जा रहा हूँ, मैंने करी जुगाड़. सो देयर विल बी पीपल जो जुगाड़ करके भी देखेंगे. तो पिक्चर की मेरिट तो मेरिट कभी
तुमने लगवा दी पुणे में?
अरे नहीं मतलब मैंने टेलीग्राम पे मंगवाई.
भाई का थिएटर है भाई का.
तो मैंने मंगवाई.
ये भी पॉसिबल है, लेकिन हाँ मतलब स्क्रीनिंग शायद होते हैं ना तरीके करवाने के, अगर इफ यू गेट इनफ पीपल ऑन बोर्ड एंड स्टफ, राइट?
आई मीन मैं ट्राई करूंगा अगर ऐसा है, क्योंकि आई रियली वांटेड टू वॉच आरके यार. मतलब
अगर आप एक यू गेट अ सर्टेन नंबर ऑफ पीपल ऑन बोर्ड ना, एंड इफ यू कैन शो दैट, if you can show a proof to the theater, so I think they can arrange like at least one screening for you.
If that is the case, then तो फिर करवा सकते हैं. So this is what I'm trying to say, that merit कभी मतलब over the आरके कब की बन चुकी है, क्राउड फंडेड फिल्म है यार, कब की बन चुकी है, उसको लेना ही देना नहीं है बॉक्स ऑफिस से. बट मेरिट उसकी इतनी अच्छी है कि आज मेरे जैसा बंदा जिसको पता चल रहा है कि हाँ अब रिलीज हो रही है, मैं ले रहा हूँ ना यार. मैंने टेलीग्राम कैसे भी ली, टेलीग्राम से ली, गूगल ड्राइव से ली, कैसे भी ली, मैं ले रहा हूँ ना पिक्चर. मैं अल्टीमेटली कंटेंट कंज्यूम करूंगा और आगे जाके वो कल्ट बनेगी. उसको अभी कल्ट मत बनाओ. मेरा पॉइंट ये है, द प्रोसेस ऑफ मेकिंग फिल्म्स राइट नाउ, कि अभी वो एकदम से कुछ बन जाएगी, इट्स नॉट गोइंग टू बी पॉसिबल. एंड वी आर टेकिंग एग्जांपल्स ऑफ केजीएफ. टेक्निकली एक और मेरे को रीजन लगता है कि अब हर कोई अगर अच्छा बोलेगा ना, तो मुझे भी अच्छा बोलना है कि केजीएफ अच्छी, तो मुझे भी अच्छा बोलना है. मतलब 9 अच्छा बोलेंगे तो मुझे भी अच्छा बोलना है. ये भी एक साइकिक हमारे अंदर है एज अ ह्यूमन बिहेवियर, कि वो, क्योंकि अगर आई थिंक जिसने भी केजीएफ 2 देखी है, दे विल एग्री विद मी दैट वो जो कार वाला सीन था, दैट वाज पैथेटिक. वो कितना बेकार एडिट हुआ था. एंड स्टिल वी आर स्टिल कंपेयरिंग कि यार एक मतलब यहाँ पे देखो आरआरआर केजीएफ कहाँ चढ़ा दिया उसको, और एक तरफ हम लोग हिंदी फिल्म्स की अच्छी चीजों के बारे में बात भी नहीं कर रहे हैं, जबकि हम उसकी बुरी चीजों को छुपाए जा रहे हैं. तो हम लोग भी तो कहीं ना कहीं यार गलत ही पोर्ट्रे कर रहे हैं, बिकॉज़ दैट वाज पैथेटिक. वो एकदम बेकार था. तो ये भी एक यार कम से कम
आदरी उसमें एक चीज है कि आप ये चीज सुनिए कि वो हम लोग कर रहे हैं, मतलब इन टर्म्स ऑफ जो लोग केजीएफ की तारीफ कर रहे हैं और जो लोग हिंदी फिल्म की बेइज्जती कर रहे हैं, वो सेम लोग हैं. बट यू नो बट दैट्स नॉट अस इन टर्म्स ऑफ, not I'm not talking about 13-14 people who are here, but I'm also saying that the people around us also, for that matter,
they can be same as well.
हाँ, पर जो हिंदी फिल्म से नफरत करते हैं और केजीएफ की तारीफ कर रहे हैं, वो लोग सेम है.
Yeah,
most likely.
So this is my like take कि मुझे लगता है कि यार ये भी सारे reasons हैं rather कि जो भी हमने बातें करी अभी तक.
I remember मैंने 1-2 साल पहले एक FTI का शॉर्ट कोर्स किया था. उसमें भारद्वाज रंगन आए थे एक सेशन में. तो उन्होंने उसमें बात किया था कि मतलब उनको किसी सवाल पूछा अबाउट साउथ सिनेमा एंड इतना अच्छा कंटेंट आ रहा है वगैरह वगैरह. So I think one thing he said was that I think it is a lot to do with recency bias. Like, matlab, generally speaking, in any industry, 80% of the content that is made, I don't remember the exact proportion of percentage he told, but a significant proportion is crap. Like, kahi bhi. Like, you have to accept that वो वहाँ भी crap है, यहाँ भी crap है और कहीं और भी crap ही आ रहा है. Like in the general standards of critiquing things. So, matlab, it's just that because we are, matlab, I think recency bias is playing a big role in terms of that. But at the same time, I also believe that there is something socio-politically, अगर हम देखें, narrative wise हम देखें, तो कुछ ऐसा crack हो रहा है that Bollywood is remaining apolitical towards. Like I'm getting a little bit into that now, but I think there's something socio-politically, economically happening in our country that maybe Bollywood को सुर पकड़ा नहीं जा रहा है. जैसे I think the revival of the
एक चीज तो बोलूंगा संकल्प कि ना दो चीजें हैं. रीसेंसी बायस है, पर वो रीसेंसी बायस एक रीजन से आया है. वो रीजन क्या है कि साउथ में पहली बात तो ऑफ कोर्स ये 4-5 अलग अलग लैंग्वेजेस हैं और सबकी अलग अलग फिल्में बन रही हैं. तो एक तो साउथ को जो एक सेम टैग दे दिया, एक तो वो भी है. दूसरा, quality wise good films have also been getting made in the south, so that's also a fact in terms of it's not like that we have only seen films like RRR and KGF coming from the south, because some really good films have also come from the south. So conversation started happening because of that also, alternate to the conversation that was happening with Bahubali and KGF and these films. I think both the things happened at the same time, so वो काउंटर करना ही बहुत मुश्किल हो जाता है कि भाई ऐसा नहीं है कि वो सिर्फ खराब फिल्में बना रहे हैं जिनको कुछ लोग अच्छा बोल रहे हैं. अच्छी फिल्में भी बना रहे हैं क्योंकि फहद फासिल टाइप के एक्टर्स जो फिल्में कर रहे हैं वो बहुत सही फिल्म है.
Janagan Man is also an example.
Correct. So yeah, I mean that's also there कि वो recency bias भी इस वजह से भी आया है कि अब लोगों को दिख रहा है ऊपर से कि भाई पैसे भी बन रहे हैं वहां पे फिल्मों के, पूरे देश के लोग देख रहे हैं क्योंकि ये 70s की हिंदी फिल्मों जैसी फिल्में बननी स्टार्ट हो गई हैं वहां पे. लेकिन एट द सेम टाइम वो जो वहां पे क्वालिटी सिनेमा बन रहा है वो भी एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट फैक्टर है, क्योंकि वो एक है जिससे मेरे को लगता है कि हिंदी सिनेमा को सीखने की बहुत जरूरत है, क्योंकि वो मेन स्ट्रीम फिल्में हैं. फहद फासिल मेन स्ट्रीम एक्टर है, वो टॉप का एक्टर है और वो फिल्में कर रहा है ऐसी मलिक जैसी what was it, Malik जैसी films, Joji जैसी films which are like great films, you know, and of course Kumbalangi Nights is such a big film, it's such a good film, you know what I mean. So that's, I mean, the kind of films that Amir Khan was making at one point. अभी ये कॉफी विद करण, मेरे को नहीं पता आप लोगों में से कितने लोग देखते हैं, लेकिन अभी बहुत अच्छी कॉन्वर्सेशन हुई कॉफी विद करण में करण जौहर और आमिर खान के बीच में इस बारे में. और करण जौहर ने और मैंने रियलाइज किया कि शिट यार, मतलब कितनी ट्रू बात है. एंड आमिर खान अंडरस्टैंड्स द ऑडियंस सो वेल दैट ही वाज एट वन पॉइंट मेकिंग फिल्म्स दैट वर जेन्युइनली लाइक ग्रेट फिल्म्स, and at the same time they were doing really good numbers, such as Tare Zameen Par, such a good film, हम लोग अभी भी देखेंगे. पर कहीं पे भी वो क्वालिटी में कॉम्प्रोमाइज नहीं किया उसने किसी भी तरीके से. उसने वो फिल्म बनाई जैसे उसको बनानी थी. रंग दे बसंती उस टाइम के हिसाब से कितनी जबरदस्त फिल्म है, आज भी वो फिल्म बनेगी, कोई भी फिल्म ले लो आप उसकी. पर वो फिल्म ने जबरदस्त नंबर्स भी किए, बट एट द सेम टाइम दे वर गुड फिल्म. सो द थिंग इज दैट इट्स अ वेरी डिफिकल्ट kind of line to traverse. It's happening right now in the Malayalam film industry, and some films in Tamil as well, but Malayalam cinema में सबसे ज़्यादा हो रहा है कि वो लोग बिल्कुल वो films बना रहे हैं इस time पे, which people like the masses also want to watch, but at the same time they're great films. But some people are also confusing the two. जिनको लग रहा है कि भाई KGF और जो ये हैं बाहुबलीज, they are in the same category as all the Fahad Fasil films, and that's the issue.
Mm. Right,
See, I
right,
just have a
right.
very small example right now. Okay, for example, recently Vikram released. Not a lot of people know about it. And the problematic part is that it's a continuation of a story that was made like I guess 3 years ago. 2019 में कैथी आई थी, which was his like Loki's movie as only. But not a lot of people knew about it back then. So randomly किसी ने देखी, किसी ने नहीं देखी. और अभी तो YouTube पे there's this I don't know channel called as Gold Mines. It just makes all South Indian movies into Hindi dubbed. So all of these movies are like readily available. So literally, I see people watching in local trains. Like randomly, कुछ काम नहीं travel 1 घंटे का करना है तो वही YouTube पे download करके देख रहे हैं लोग. So it's very readily available to people. So I watched Vikram because I watched its trailer, and then when I watched the movie, that is when I realized that this is something related to something that I didn't even know existed. Like before watching Vikram, I didn't know there's a movie called as Kaithi. So and it's a beautiful story. Like I watched Kaithi, of course. After this, I have already watched Vikram twice, and the storytelling and the procedures. And see, however we are saying that Pushpa, KGF, two to छोड़ो, one पकड़ लो या बाहुबली one पकड़ लो. In terms of storytelling, they are beautiful films. You can't write something like that just randomly just to entertain people. Your Abhi SS Azamoli is there, or maybe Pushpa's director is there. These guys write things because they're enjoying the process of writing the story. So the whole action sequences and all that stuff is something that the action director does, not the director or the writer wants to put it as. The story, the storytelling procedure, the concept of the movie, all of that is taken care of by people who are writing it. So somewhere or the other, this also differentiated by a lot of people. Like as Adri mentioned, that the whole car sequence from KGF is not fun. You know, like I mean, of course we know about it, but like not a lot of people know that the movie was edited by a 19-year-old kid, which is altogether a different kind of an experience for, of course, that guy also. Like, मेरे को enjoy करने का इतना कम उम्र में मैं इतना खर्चा वाला movie edit कर रहा हूँ. Why not have my own fun also from it? So somewhere or the other, it is what, and as we are mentioning, it is what people want to see, and not what people want to think when they are watching a movie. अभी आपको वो 10-15 scenes slow motion में क्यों दिखा रहे हैं? Because people are rooting, enjoy. I have rooted in the theaters, man. I enjoy movies because I'm just in 3 घंटा 2 घंटा. I am just in it. I don't want to think about work. I don't want to think about my life. I have this 2 to 3 hours that I just want to enjoy. You go for a good movie, like for example, Andhadhun. People didn't understand it when they watched it for the first time. People getting out of the theaters. I have overheard people telling, "What the fuck was this? like, क्या मतलब अंधा था नहीं था ये था वो था क्या चल रहा है किसी को पता नहीं है." It is just a fact that people like us, I would say we invest our mind when we are watching a movie. And for example, it's just a funny thing that we can't get out of the investment in the movie anymore. हम इतने time से we are looking at movies in a certain way since a couple of years now, that investment, while even watching, as I remember Sankalp and I, we have had these conversations in a lot of our sessions, we can't enjoy a movie anymore. हम वो ऐसा आराम से chill करके देखेंगे हो ही नहीं सक रहा है हम लोग से, because even if we are watching some random ass comedy, we still want to analyze it at the back of our head because it's fun. This is for fun for us. So at the same time, just people watching a movie is fun for them. So I think that is also a different kind of a category that has been developing now.
Bilkul. Pranav, you go ahead. Sorry for keeping you waiting.
Yeah. So, just to, talk about, because there was talk about film criticism also. So what, 90, so, and again about that 80-20% which you mentioned. So 80% of any industry's business, any film industry's business, whether it is the fragmented southern industries, Tamil, Telugu, Malayalam, Kannada, or say the Hindi film industry, or say even abroad in America or China, or the Chinese film industry, which is to say 80 to 85% of the revenue of the entire industry comes from the top 5% of films. So in business, in B schools, it is taught that, so there is something called a Burrito Principle, where 80% of your business comes from the top. Yeah, 80% of the
80-20
business comes from the top 20% of our customers in any service-oriented business. In the film industry, it is the top 5% of films give more than 80% of the business of the industry in that particular year. Okay, so that is why, and the rest of films hardly are able to kind of. So in India, the model is you basically make a film for some budget. An actor either takes upfront fees or takes a profit share or takes whatever money that they want to take, basis a back channel deal or whatever, or they get a producer share or whatever. Then then the film rights are sold for television. The music rights are sold, which are peanuts for a large film. Even for a large film, the music rights are peanuts. Then now a new component has come in, that is the OTT, and then after that it gets a theatrical life where a PVR and a distributor, say sitting somewhere in Madhya Pradesh, they will share the spoils of the film. So if the film is distributed by somebody else, what is happening now in the industry to consolidate basically paisa, कि अगर मैं पिक्चर बना रहा हूँ, if I'm a big production house, अगर मैं पिक्चर बना रहा हूँ तो डिस्ट्रीब्यूट भी मैं ही करूंगा, so that मेरे को किसी बीच, मतलब basically it's like, imagine say a Pepsi is being made in a factory, and then it is being sold by a distributor, then it is being sold to a wholesaler, then a retailer, and then it comes to you at your nearest panwadi shop. That chain is broken because OTT is a new player in the value chain. Plus the television rights have seen a sort of flux, क्योंकि OTT है तो फिर टीवी का थोड़ा पैसा कम मिला तो मेरे OTT से मिल जाएगा, या तो OTT से पैसा कम मिला तो मैं टीवी में पुश करेगा, ऐसा है. Because all films can't be shown on TV. For television, you need a strict universal UA rating. Okay, or sorry, a U rating. Even if your film is UA, you need a U rating to show it on television. Our certification rules are that archaic. So that being said, because of this thing, what happens is that a lot of good films do not get the reach that they deserve, and a lot of bad films become matinee hits on television, and that is why unknowns to Bollywood, because it did not look beyond the top billable Khans and some 4 or 5 production houses plus some legacy producers that are around. They didn't notice that since 2017-18, again when Jio's internet became almost a free for all, even in the remotest regions of this country, there was a huge sizable audience watching Allu Arjun films, watching Nani films, watching for example films by Mahesh Babu. And these people, this mass of people, that is the CP Berar belt, that is Madhya Pradesh, Bihar, Jharkhand, parts of West Bengal, Orissa, Eastern UP, and maybe Haryana. These people went and gave Pushpa the 60% of his money. Pushpa did not do well in top metro centers. The conventional markets that a Hindi film tries to tap into, Pushpa was an average hit there. Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness earned more money in metros than Pushpa did. Pushpa earned from the UP, Bihar, and not to denigrate that, but it's a very important market. I mean, it is more populous than the top 5 metro cities combined. So not to denigrate that market, but Allu Arjun. So it's about chasing trends and proactively responding to them rather than reactively understanding, okay, if this is working, I will replicate this in some form, add my own flavor, add some identity of my own production house, and remake what is already working. That attitude needs to change drastically, because the biggest problem is that even at a socio-cultural level, Bollywood or any film industry for that matter is not the only monopolist of cultural capital anymore. You have micro-influencers, you have nano-influencers, you have macro-influencers, you have non-celebrity. Celebrities is in people, I say, who have become rich, famous, and who have high reach across India because of the films or the content they do. Earlier, and television stars were considered to be no match to them. But now a television star can go to Instagram, have 1 million followers for no reason at all other than appearing on Viral Bhayani's paparazzi page. Okay, so the cultural capital is being held by, I won't say by social media, because Dhakad is a very great example of having, I would say, swathes of armies on social media and people not even turning up to buy more than 20 tickets on a Thursday in the first week. So that disconnect is still there between what happens on social media and what happens on the ground.
Yeah.
But the holders and the I would say the creators of cultural capital are now shifting, and it is not just I would say, the scope or the throne of the Bollywood A-lister to set what is the cultural movement or the cultural trend. There was a time when Shah Rukh Khan hairstyle used to be copied so there is a saying, okay, that until outside every female beauty parlor, the tackiest poster of a heroine is not strung up, or at every Birju Nai's Kesh Kartanalay, a hero's poster is not chipkafied with Fevicol. Until that happens, the star is not actually mass. So, but right now, the thing is that there is this section of people who are encountering other media as in news, stuff that's happening around them on television, on news, and even in the world of cinema through social media. That is the first filter that these people have. They don't have any other touch point from where they can experience media. So social media is going to color their perception, and because of that, you can see these waves of boycott. And I see 30-40% of those conversations are by bots, maybe even more. But the fact is that you cannot deny. I would say maybe there are 5 or 6 factors why a film does not work. Social media earlier 5 years ago would have been less than 5%. Now it is say 20% because of 20%. Social media will never be the sole determinant of a film's success or failure. And even before it was not. Just trying to wrap about criticism, I would say film critics like Susan Sontag, Gene Siskel, Roger Ebert, Stephanie Zacharek right now, and say people, David Elric from IndieWire, Bharadwaj Rangan, Rahul Desai. These people are institutions in themselves, and again, they are the top 2 or 3% of people who actually know what they're talking about. The why criticism has got a bad name is because I know people who are writing reviews on websites that gain a lot of traction, but who haven't seen even films from 5 or 7 or 10 years ago. People who haven't, it's not about watching a film or not watching. People who haven't even experienced how cinema evolved across the ages. You need to know your basic ABCs of film history. The medium which you are reviewing, which you're spending time with, and tomorrow your experience, people read your experience of it in thousands and then decide what to do. That person needs to actually have some background in the history of cinema, basic knowledge of how cinema developed in different countries and in different movements across the world because of social, cultural, historical, economic factors, and technological too. Those people don't know anything. They haven't, maybe they have not even watched say films like The Godfather or maybe Tarantino. They don't know who made Reservoir Dogs. They don't know basics of what they haven't watched a Ritvik Ghatak film, a Mrinal Sen film, a Sham Benegal film. How am I supposed to take these people seriously when they write about a film? But again, the critics that we worship and we talk about, they don't get the reach that they deserve. So again, criticism, as Harshit mentioned, is, I guess, losing its steam. But these people have become sort of these cinematic yogis, right? We seek them out on our own, but we are this 13-14 group of people. The rest of, as Uncle said, as his father, or even say, even my parents were cinephiles. Chalo, maine wo bhi bol diya. But somebody on average, say people, my co-workers at work, they'll just see, okay, this people are talking about this film on social. Around me, 2 or 3 people, my co-workers are talking about this film. I'll go and check it out someday. So the problem with Bollywood is that they need to figure out ways to bring more people in to wow them, so to say. And it's not about content, but it's also about a lot of, I would say, reasons to purchase, right? Why should I go and watch it in the theater? Why should I do this? And those reasons are not always big stars or big plot or big budgets. It can be even, say, endorsement by big wigs in the country, and then suddenly you become a 300 crore film when your budget was 15 crore. Yeah. So I would say it's just up for grabs right now. And again, I'll give you an example. In South India, there is a film called Ante Sundaraniki. I don't know how many here have watched it. It's a great Telugu film made in 2022 this year. The budget was around 25-27 crores. It hardly even earned 30 crores at the Telugu box office, let alone travel across states. And it's a beautiful love story, a great romantic comedy made, like reiterated for the IT and app startup generation, where tradition versus modernity, that clash is there between 2 cosmopolitan individuals in Hyderabad. Nobody has watched that film, not even the Telugu audience it was intended for. So the sort of grammar or syntax of cinema that is succeeding across the country is sort of like a regression to what was happening in the 70s. But Salim Javed infused that anger with literary backing. Javed Akhtar is almost a a progressive writer, left inclined writer, and Salim used to sort of moderate Javed's more radical impulses. So that sort of writer, those sort of people who could infuse political commentary without being overtly political.
They were very political films as compared to
look at
gets
Zanjeer. Zanjeer is about a man within the system suddenly thinking it is because it is dysfunctional, he'll take the law into his own hands. I mean, look at that. Zanjeer, I would say a more artful and a more nuanced and substantial version of a man going his own path than KGF. KGF, in terms of sensibilities, KGF is loud and all over the place. Good or bad, don't know, but it is loud and all over the place. But I could see Zanjeer there. I'm saying, oh my God, this is what happened in 1975, in 74. Right?
Yeah. Harshit, please.
No, yeah. I mean, I agree with most of what Pranav said. But on that note, I think I would have to take your leave if that's okay with you guys.
I wanted to ask that as well.
Yeah. I think I would have, because I have some work that I need to finish before 12.
Yes.
So
how was the experience, buddy? कैसा लगा आके?
बहुत अच्छा लगा यार, बहुत अच्छा लगा. Thank you so much for having me. और बहुत अच्छी conversations हो रही हैं यहाँ पे, और बहुत सही है. आप लोग हर हफ्ते मिलते हो और बातें करते हो, बहुत सही है. और आऊंगा मैं फिर से कभी ना कभी.
बिल्कुल. एक फटाफट से एक पिक्चर ले लेते हैं, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Yes. If everybody could just smile nicely for a second. Smile, guys. Yeah. Thank you so much, Harshit, आने के लिए. I hope you genuinely had a good time, and I hope to see you soon again.
I had an amazing time. Thank you so much, everyone, and yeah, मतलब feel free to connect with me on Instagram. और अगर पेज को नहीं फॉलो करते तो कर लो.
बिल्कुल. I don't think कोई ऐसा है यहाँ पे जो नहीं करता है, but yes.
Yeah, I think that is the rarest possible case if anyone who doesn't have followed HOC.
हाँ, मतलब ये बात ये है कि वैसे तो होंगे, लेकिन अभी जो लोग यहाँ पे हैं जो फिल्म्स में इतना इंटरेस्ट रखते हैं, उसमें थोड़ा कम चांसेस है कि मेरे को ऐसे लोग मिले जो कि नहीं करते होंगे.
नहीं, I'm sure जरूर करते हैं. I'm more than sure जरूर करते हैं.
चलो सही, चलो take care guys. Good night.
Yeah.
Bye.
Good night.
Good night.
Yes, buddy. Yeah. Guys, let's continue the conversation because we are supposed to anyways discuss this thing. Avinash, I'm very sorry you didn't get a chance to speak yet. Avinash, please go ahead.
Are we still going in live or we can?
करते हैं live. I don't mind. मतलब क्या दिक्कत है? Normal बात चल रही है अपनी. Yes, Avinash.
Yeah.
We after that discuss about कैसा रहा क्या रहा. But yes, Avinash.
Yeah. So like my perspective from the last year has been very different because somehow like when I started working, matlab in films, and I kind of a lot of things was very difficult to process also because of course it's a new process आज के date में जो पहले like even the films that were being made 5 years ago, they were being made from a completely different process prep wise. Like production में it's still the same कि camera इस time पे set होगा, actors vanity से आएंगे, blocking होगा, then like that is still the same like जब से digital का method use होना शुरू हुआ है. But a lot of things have changed in prep and post of making a film. The most radical change in the prep of a film is like earlier it was the film was sold on one particular thing, maybe the star, maybe the issue which was being made around, but now that has changed to a lot of small factors, like now especially the marketing team and the legal team have a very big role in modifying things or changing things in prep. And by changing things I mean literally changing the script. Like मैं मतलब आज की बात करूं, like today I was in office and I am like the project that I was working earlier, like it was more of a like AD job. Now I'm like a DA, which is like an assistant to the director, so I'm like constantly with him in all the meetings and everything. So today he had a meeting with the head of Amazon Prime, and he comes to his cabin and he's like, I think this works in the script because of some reason, and my director had no choice but to like agree with him on that. And I'm just sitting there taking minutes of the meeting, and मैं अंदर दिमाग में सोच रहा हूँ कि it has to be a unilateral vision ना, like how films have always been कि जो writer है या जो director है उसने जो कहा वो चीज बननी चाहिए. But here this guy who's come from like another meeting जहाँ पे उसने कुछ मार्केट ट्रेंड्स पे रिसर्च किया हो, कुछ सोशल इश्यूज पे रिसर्च किया हो, कुछ मीडिया ट्रेंड्स पे रिसर्च किया हो, एंड ही थिंक्स दिस वर्क्स मोर देन दिस. So that has now changed a very major part of the script. That has changed the location, that has changed the dialogues, that has changed the characters. It's not like मतलब बहुत कि मतलब you're burdened under someone, but it's like वो हंस हंस के agree करना पड़ता है. मतलब it's like a very passive form of, you know, forcing someone to work according to you because you have no other choice, because आज के डेट में the entire film on Amazon Prime is being bought by Amazon Prime. It's being
Exactly. I was
funded
going
by
to say that
Amazon
वो
Prime.
खरीद चुके हैं.
अब वो जमाना नहीं रहा कि को प्रोडक्शंस हैं, कि धर्मा है, यश राज है, सबका पैसा लगा है तो एक सबका लाइक बोर्ड ऑफ डायरेक्टर टाइप कुछ होता है कि सब अग्री होना चाहिए तभी एक डिसीजन फॉलो होगा. आज Amazon ने जो चाहा वो होगा. लाइक इफ दे वांट टू रिप्लेस द लीड, कोई कंट्रोवर्सी हुआ आज सोशल मीडिया पे, इफ द लीड ऑफ द फिल्म कम्स अंडर बैड लाइट, दे विल रिप्लेस द लीड. एंड जब से Amazon पे लाइक तांडव एक वेब सीरीज बनी थी, and it politically it was hounded by the mainstream ruling party of India and the government of India and the local public. उसके कारण Amazon की CEO को जेल भी जाना पड़ा था, and like a big ruckus was created. And after that, anything political, they just back off. Like even I had to like, there's a character in my script. I cannot talk about the script, but there's a character in my script who is like a Muslim, and the film that I'm working on is a period film. It's about the pre-independent India. It's a story of a freedom fighter, and there was this friend of that freedom fighter who was a Muslim guy. So I had to research character traits for him. My director told me I want to give this guy some physical traits, you know, characters कि वो कैसे चलेगा, वो क्या करेगा. So because उस time पे like there is this Punjabi guy in the film who's very religious, who's a follower of Bhagat Singh. Then there is this female freedom fighter who is like also very religious. She follows Ram Krishna ji. So I thought maybe like there's this Muslim guy, maybe he does follow his faith also, like he's pretty dedicated to his faith in the way of dressing and everything. So I just suggested ki maybe he is devoted to his religion, and maybe that can be a part of his attire, a part of his presenting himself, the look of the character. And immediately my director was like, I don't want to get into anything religious, because he doesn't even want to take the chance कि कल को लोग बोलेंगे कि इसको ऐसा क्यों दिखाया है, इसका ये जो अटायर है, it doesn't comply to our religious sentiments, it's थोड़ा difficult, and उसके कारण पूरी फिल्म को एक you know like बड़ा blow मिल सकता है. So a lot of things happen, like मतलब a lot of things like that happen during prep. और पोस्ट में भी होते हैं. पोस्ट में तब होते हैं जब फिल्म एडिट हो रही होती है, एंड फिर आपको पता चलता है कि दिस इज हाउ इट्स गोइंग टू लुक टू द ऑडियंस, एंड उसमें दे सी एनी रेड फ्लैग्स अकॉर्डिंग टू देम, लाइक नॉट जनरल रेड फ्लैग्स, तो उसको भी पूरा चेंज कर देते हैं. आज के डेट में इंडस्ट्री में पैच वर्क सबसे ज्यादा होता है. पैच वर्क इज लाइक वंस योर शूट इज फिनिश्ड, पूरा शूटिंग स्केड्यूल रैप हो गया है, तो उसके बाद कुछ और सीन्स रीशूट किए जाते हैं कभी एडिट के टाइम पे, क्योंकि एडिट कर रहे हैं, पता चला कि कुछ मिसिंग है, कोई शॉट मिसिंग है जो लिया ही नहीं पहले, तो उसके लिए पैच वर्क किया जाता है, वेयर द क्रू इज कॉल्ड बैक अगेन और अ न्यू क्रू इज हायर्ड, एंड देन दे शूट फॉर लाइक 1-2 days जस्ट टू कवर दैट थिंग. आज के डेट में पैच वर्क पूरे सीन्स के लिए हो रहे हैं, बिकॉज सम सीन इज नॉट लुकिंग टू लाइक you know it's looking, maybe it's demeaning somebody's sentiments and somebody's beliefs. So political films aaj ke date mein banna is very like not a lot of people touch it. Even the production house I was working before in Tiger Baby, matlab after Gully Boy and after even facing very minute you know like matlab aggression for Gully Boy, Zoya Akhtar has decided she's never going to make a political film. Like wo abhi Archies bana rahi hai. Ab Archies mein bhi matlab it's a very like safe project, because I don't think it can hurt anyone. It's just some teenage you know boys and girls and their stories in a hill station and everything. So it's a very carefully thought subject also. Or like even in Gully Boy was one film जिसमें बहुत you know like ये raise हो सकता था concern from the public कि boycott Gully Boy and all, but it didn't face that amount of backlash because she as a filmmaker was very subtle. Like वो उसके dialogues आप देखोगे तो उसमें वैसे बोल रहा है कि तू मुस्लिम है, तू इंडिया में कैसे, ये मतलब this is not for you, तू मुसलमान का बच्चा है, and also like ये discussions हमारे में भी होता है, how subtly जोया अख्तर मतलब वो अपने political message को भी मतलब push करती है narrative के साथ, and she doesn't do it in a way कि लोगों को थोड़ा like you know agitate करे. But there are filmmakers who are like matlab blatant. They're like, nahi, I want to say this and I will say this. So those filmmakers sometimes they have to face the backlash. And आज के डेट में like even like if you see like these filmmakers like Motwane and Anurag Kashyap जो कि आज से 8-9 साल पहले they used to fund their own money for their film. They used to look for investors. मतलब उनके 5 साल में एक फिल्म बनाते थे, उसमें से 3 साल उनको इन्वेस्टर ढूंढने में ही लगते थे. आजकल it's become very easy for them to just make an entire film in 2 years under an OTT platform. And people are like, nahi, why is Anurag Kashyap making films like that? Because for him, he's 50 years old. He doesn't want to like go through the same amount of film release नहीं हो रही है, blacklist हो गई है, पैसे नहीं बन रहे हैं. उसके लिए like मतलब we should cut some slack for him also ना, because if that's an easy way for him to tell stories, of course he will like follow that only. If अगर मेरे को कोई ऐसा जॉब दे जहाँ पे मैं काम कम कर रहा हूँ और सैलरी ज्यादा है, so I will be like, and it's also related to the thing that I love, then I'll be a foolish person to not take that.
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल. Abdul, you had raised your hand earlier. You want to say something? We'll take Abdul's point, Arnav's point, and then उसके बाद में एक last एक sort of करते हैं वो, and then we can sort of wrap it up. Yeah, Abdul बोलो. Yeah.
I lowered my hand because I had nothing new to add that's not already been said. So my only point was that was said by Avinash.
But we need some minority perspective here.
मैं इसलिए अपना हाथ खुद ही नीचे कर लिया क्यों. So
I allowed you to speak.
Yeah, thanks. Not the first time that. Okay, ठीक है, मैं गुजरात में नहीं जाना है वापस. So yeah, my only point was. My point here was both industry-wise and consumer-wise, we are resistant to change. Okay, as an audience, and as filmmakers, we are resistant to change. We don't want anything new. We want, like Shah Rukh Khan once said, I don't know where, he told कि हमारा ना सब भरोसे पे चलता है. We believe कि अगर if NTR is lifting a bullet, he is not VFX, he is, and if Shah Rukh Khan is beating 10 people together, he is, and we've accepted that. Hollywood में things don't work this way. Nobody is hitting anybody up, and even if John Wick is hitting, it is very professional, and we like seeing John Wick hit people. So yeah, we are, and as filmmakers, if I talk about filmmakers, like I think I think Harshit had this point, if there is demand, there is obviously supply. So if people want to see a particular kind of movie, then the people, big money back guys or production houses have to show that. And Bollywood, again, the beach में 90s में रहा था, it was because of the comedy of errors genre that it was exploring with Andaz Apna Apna and all. So now Bollywood is trying to put comedy in literally everything. Okay, and we are moving backwards. Okay, in my point of view, Bollywood moving backwards because we are either we don't have a story, and for that, to back that up, we have big actors so that we get the collection back. If we have story, we are going with any actor, and if we don't have both, we have films like Aankho Dekhi. We have films like such which can't garner that much of audience. Newton can't garner that much of audience. So in that process, ये production house वाले, let's say Bhul Bhulaiya, they're making sequels, ठीक है, for no reason at all. When Bahubali 1 was written, they knew कि Bahubali 2 आने वाला है. But when Race finished, they didn't even know कि Race 2 आने वाला है. जब Race 2 start हुआ, they didn't even know कि Race 3 आने वाला है. And we had no clue कि सलमान खान आने वाला है. It's not of nowhere. So it's just के क्या चल रहा है देखो, and उसको पकड़ के बार बार चलाओ जब तक we can't squeeze every last penny from our pockets. So yeah, that is one thing where Bhul Bhulaiya 1 kind of pushed my boundaries to believe that atmas don't exist and it's all dissociative identity disorder. And Bhul Bhulaiya 2 is like, nahi bhai, atma hai. You want to see atma? Hai. Andar hai. Manjulika nahi, Anjulika hai, but hai. I'm like, why did I even watch this? ठीक है, plot twist. ठीक है. I mean,
that's the least you can expect, right? Like from a filmmaker, कि bro एक अच्छा plot twist डाल देना film में.
हाँ, फिर comedy कर लो लाके, मतलब punch मार लो. मतलब
the entire myth of Manjulika was distilled by making her into a superstition, like a stree character. She can get into people and ऊपर हवा में उड़ जाएगी सब करके. Like वो first उसमें था ना, it was made so grounded in that.
Grounded, yes, exactly, and that is why it became cult because people don't watch it in theaters and later they call it cult. And I think that somewhere benefits Bollywood also. OTT के बारे में भी I had this opinion के OTT I think somewhere, okay, keeping the point aside, it is letting less amount of people to go into theaters. It is also, in my opinion, keeping Bollywood alive. Okay, let's say if Netflix nothing of it existed, I'll take the example of Tamasha. When Tamasha released, it didn't get the kind of audience it has currently. Okay, and yeah, even I didn't watch Tamasha because I had opinions alag type ke, and I didn't even want to watch it unless recently when someone asked because of Sankalp, I think I watched it and I told him also. So if OTT didn't exist, I don't think Tamasha would have been a movie that people would have known about, let's say, or people. I personally have this hope. Let's say Ranbir Kapoor may say, I know कि if this set of people are making films, let's say Alia Bhatt now, Ranbir Kapoor, there's something to look up to. Matlab, most of the people won't get it, but there's something to look up to. I think OTT is keeping that hope in me alive that Bollywood, okay, somewhere out of the 10 movies, maybe one movie is fine, maybe two movies are fine. So OTT is doing that thing for me, and plus I think it is subjective, like we all said, attention span. I think Adri spoke about, where in my Rohan Joshi once told it in some video, reels mein attention span itna bura hai ke in a 6-second reel also you have to wait for the end. I'm like, what do I have to wait for in 6 seconds? But yeah, I can't risk it. Matlab, मेरे को अगर 2 घंटे की Bollywood movie, if you ask me to watch, I can't watch it. But the same thing in Tollywood, I'll be Jana Gana Mana, let's say, it just appeared on my dashboard on Netflix, and I ended up watching it because I knew that Tollywood will not produce something just out of, matlab, only to make money. But the same thing for Bollywood, I don't know if that's happening. I can't risk watching a 1.5 hour Bollywood movie. I'll rather watch 10 6-minute YouTube videos, but I won't care watching a 1.5 hour Bollywood movie currently. I don't think I don't know the solution for it anyways, because story I kind of expect something else, and because mere mein problem hai Bollywood mein nahi, I think I expect something from Bollywood that I am not receiving at my end. But I guess, yeah, in my opinion, because it is YouTube live, I have to be politically correct. In my opinion, I think that's what lacks mere liye, the whole point Bollywood.
Yeah. I think like this, Arnav will take a last final this thing rather than बस एक फटाफट से करते हैं. Like I just remember one thing, मैं वो कॉफी तरह रात सुन रहा था आमिर खान वाला, उसमें एक पार्ट उसने वही बताया आमिर खान ने कि the reason why we are discussing this is that a lot of people is that Bollywood has to start making or has to start making films which are rooted in the or मतलब have been created. Like example कि जैसे हर्षित भी पहले बोल रहा था कि तारे ज़मीन पर is a very मतलब जैसा बनाना था वैसा बनाया है. It's a very honest attempt at making it. So I think वो अगर honesty नहीं के साथ नहीं बनाया जाएगा तो like that, मतलब the reason why a Pushpa is still working is because it is a very rooted film in that way. Universality उसकी emotion की वजह से शायद है, लेकिन it's really rooted in the culture it's trying to portray. I think that is something that
because no, just one line I wanted to add, Pushpa universality, because it showed a man from nothing, a person in the rural hinterlands of Andhra Pradesh, making it big in a big bad world without regards to the law, the system, or to his stature in his own society. That is the problems he had with negotiating the caste system in his village too.
Yeah.
So those are difficulties that every Andhraite must be facing even today.
Yeah.
And people even in, like, say 1,000 kilometers north in the hinterland of North India are facing even today. That is why it spoke to them.
Exactly. I think I would like to wrap up the conversation by us talking about what are some films from since the pandemic started and we have been home and film theater पे आई है, घर पे भी आई है, अभी तक, like till today, what are 2 or 3 Hindi films that you have liked, like you have genuinely liked, matlab, not irrespective of the numbers they have gotten. Like what I plan to do is we'll keep a separate live stream. Like now it will become a thing which में करेंगे ऐसा, and it will not matter कितने लोग हैं, 2-4 लोगों तो भी, और it will be fun anyways also. Like we'll keep a live stream every now and then. So we'll discuss about what's happening आगे जाके also. Like There's going to be Lal Singh Chadda coming out, and there's going to be Brahmastra coming out. Two bigger films of the second half. So we'll sort of have a discussion उसके ऊपर भी, ये आगे क्या होने वाला है. But अभी पैंडेमिक से लेके अभी तक मैं आपके लिए कौन सी ऐसी एक या दो फिल्म बताओ मेरे को खाली जो आपको genuinely हिंदी फिल्म इंडस्ट्री से अच्छी लगी, irrespective of the numbers they got. Like if you want, you can generally just Google films ऐसे तो भी शायद आ जाएगा. But yeah, Asdar.
Yeah, so I have this, I don't know if you guys can see it, but it's a list every year that I make very loyally for movies that are going to come and the movies that I'm going to watch. For example, the ones that I know of and the ones that keep coming. जिसको मेरे पास पता नहीं और वो list में add होती जाती है. So now 2020 to 2021, there were good amount of movies that we didn't know about. Like, of course, some of them got delayed, some of them got shelved also for a good amount of time, but then they postponed the release date and everything. So, I mean, this movie did not release in the theaters, but I had a beautiful time watching it, and I just don't understand why nobody talked about it. It was Ludo. It's a Bollywood movie. One of the most beautiful movies that I've seen since the last 3-4 years from Bollywood, and we thoroughly enjoyed it. By Avinash, we thoroughly enjoyed it, and I remember speaking about it on a session as well, that how much beautiful the music was, how much amazing the story was, and that getting, and I was just thinking about it right now, that if that had released in the theaters, it would have been so much fun, because the essence of the movie and how it turned out was really amazing. And one of the movies so this year, this is my personal opinion, I liked as we were mentioning Satyamyo Jayate 2, John Abraham को जबरदस्ती movie करना पड़ा because of the production house, etc. etc. He did a really good movie this year by himself. He directed it or wrote it. I don't understand what it was, but Attack.
It was produced by him, yeah.
And it was written by him also. He wrote
no, but it was produced by him.
No, he wrote it. I know. This is for sure. That was the most shocking thing when I read it in the credits, that he wrote the movie, and I was genuinely in awe of him, because he has made such a fun kind of like a science fiction Indian based patriotic movie for some reason. It is not exactly patriotic, but it still has a good amount of, I would call it a very, it's not even actually a mass entertainment, because not a lot of people watched it. It did not really do that much well in the box office character.
Good disaster.
Yeah. But story-wise and everything wise, I loved it. I had a good amount of time. So it's one of those movies. So yeah, these two movies, I think I would say that I really enjoyed over this year.
Arnab, any two films for you?
I'm talking about films which I went for the theaters. Definitely Vadai Do. Definitely, I went twice. I cried hundreds. I mean, it was a theatrical experience, which I will carry probably, like for years, despite it not being a film which needed maybe, like necessarily maybe needed the theatrical experience, like a film like Ludo, or like a film which has to go a lot with cinematography or sound does. It was basically an emotional drama film. That also, which mostly had to focus with I would say a marginalized section of the society. Not that many so-called like straight people watched it or loved it even. So basically, it didn't have any promotions at all, because the same weekend was the same Friday in which Gairaya came upon, and it went so polarized that Badhai Do, it took a very slow start. I mean, there was a time when we started writing, and then we started like people started noticing the film, but it took a very slow start. So Badhai was definitely one of the films which I went for theaters in the past 2 years, and it will be a memorable experience for me for like many other reasons. But and others, amongst the ones which I watched in OTT, it would definitely be Sherni and Shersha. The Sardar Udham.
Right, of course.
Sherni, Shersha, Sardar Udham. I mean, Sardar Udham, I really wanted, had it, released in theaters. I wanted to see Abhik's work on theater once again after so many years after Rituparna passed away, because I haven't seen Abhik's work much after Rit Porno. So I wanted to see, like Sardar Udham on theaters, but we had an OTT release, and the cinematography is so beautiful. Like besides everything, I could not watch that last part of the the where they show the shooting scene. I literally was like, matlab, please khatam ho jao, please khatam ho jao. And I went to Jallianwala Bagh like just a few months after that. So yeah, this would be a pilgrimage. Ludo definitely. Thappar was pre-pandemic, so I won't maybe bring Thappar, but Thappar was the last film which I went to before the just the pandemic struck. I cannot remember anything else immediately right now. I think those were the few films. Also, if you just don't mind, I'd just like to add quickly 1-2 points. We were talking about we were talking about film criticisms a lot. What has changed over the years is that people have become critics, not in who are not anymore in the love of the media. Like film as a form of art, as a form of media, people are not in love with it anymore. People just write because of their friends. I'm talking about professional film critics only, not Instagram film critics. People that write it because they have to write. Also, we sometimes forget that nobody has made it a mandate that a film has to become an art always, or a film has to do a business always. A film can also be a mediator confluence of art and business as both. It has to cater to audiences, the fish sellers, the vegetable sellers, the cobblers, the people from Dharavi, as well as the people from South Bombay. So a film has different kinds of audiences, and the audiences are not same. The films for them will be not the same. Sometimes we in all this democracy, we forget that a film also has its own democracy. So it has the right to go to different kinds of audiences. I'll wrap that up.
Bilkul. Yeah. Harsh?
Yeah, just I'll add one point to what Arnav was saying. So as I said earlier, like that's the thing. Actually, we're saying now what's the way forward. So I think in a concluding sense, I think the way forward is that the film production house needs to understand that they are not. See, I think when we say Tare Zameen Par or say movies, such movies have been 3 Idiots, they are like mass appeal movies, but we also need to understand they are very rare movies. We can't always churn out that kind of content every time. There are going to be movies, majority of the movies will appeal to a small group of audience only, and we need to accept that. So that's the part of it. And when with this, also we also need to understand, this actually I'll reiterate this point of this Lalchi Charna. Like I see people criticizing a lot on this movie, but I think I personally won't go to watch that movie, but I think that movie has done very good work in making people watch Forrest Gump at least. So I think that's the credit that movie should get. Yeah. So with that, I'll say my favorite movies from the last couple of years. So I told this earlier as well. I'm personally a fan of biographical movies, and also I'll add one more point why I like biographical movies more. Because I think first of all, they, personally, I am not a very good at reading, so give me a visual sense of what actually happened in the history. And also, I think these movies deserve a lot of credit because, when you watch a biographical movie, you have something to compare to, and that's where all the criticism can also come. So you have to be very safe when you make something. And in that sense, I think 3 movies which I loved the most. One of them, which Arnav said, is Udham Singh, right? The Jallianwala Bagh scene was like, मेरे एकदम literally goosebumps थे सच में वो scene में again मैं भी नहीं देख पा रहा था, like I was like, और उसको इतना it was so beautifully like shot, उसको धीरे धीरे like तो चुभाना है, पूरा चुभाना है, like अंदर एकदम घुस जाना है, तो ऐसे लगना चाहिए कि क्या कितना बुरा हुआ है. So that was really beautiful movie. Second, which movie I loved personally was 83. I loved the movie. I don't know about others, but I really loved the cast, the movie. And जब वो लहरा वो सॉन्ग बजता है, मुझे खुद को एक फील आ रही है कि यार जीते हम, यस जीते. तो वो तो I personally loved that movie. And third movie which I loved was Tanaji. मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगा movie. Like I literally thoroughly enjoyed the movie. Tanaji. I watched it in theater, so I think वो थोड़ा वो effect भी रहा होगा. But actually Tanaji was also one such movie, and I personally actually kind of like the kind of movies Ajay Devgan picks sometimes. Like there are some roles which जिसमें Ajay Devgan fits so well. जैसे गंगा जल देख लिया हो, अब ऐसे कुछ movies. Again, Tanaji was one such movie where Ajay Devgan is वही होना चाहिए, like और कोई नहीं होना सकता. So I think I loved that movie as well. So these 3 movies are for me where Yes, आँख दिखाता है. Yeah, so there are 3 movies from my side.
Great. Thank you for sharing that, man. Sangeeta aunty, any couple of films for you?
या एक्चुअली क्या हुआ था, ये तुम लोग के साथ रह के और थोड़ा सा मेरा पहले से भी डिसिएशन था कि मुझे लग रहा था मैं बॉलीवुड में इंटरेस्ट ही लूज करती जा रही हूँ आफ्टर वॉचिंग ऑल दिस इंटेलेक्चुअल सिनेमा. और 2-3 मूवीज ऐसे मैंने बैक टू बैक देखी, लाइक बजरंगी भाईजान और समथिंग वेरी मसाला मूवी, एकदम जनरल मासेस के लिए बनती है. तो मेरा और ही फेथ बॉलीवुड में खत्म हो गया, जो रेगुलर सिनेमा में पैरेलल सिनेमा जिसको भी बोलते हैं. फिर लकीली आईसो 1983 और वो परचम लहरा दो वाला, तो मतलब सॉन्ग गिव मी गूज बम्प्स एंड आई लिसन टू इट ऑन अ लूप फॉर 2-3 days. मुझे इतना अच्छा लगा. देन आई वाज हैप्पी कि आई स्टार्टेड वॉचिंग मूवी फॉर प्योर एंटरटेनमेंट. ये तुम लोग के साथ रह के मैं भी थोड़ी बकवास हो गई थी कि उसमें कुछ ढूंढती रहती थी. तो वो और एक मेरे कीड़ा था इसके लिए, वो बजरंगी भाईजान और वो सब देख के मैं एकदम परेशान हो रही थी. आई वाज स्क्वर्मिंग इन माय सीट इन द थिएटर एंड एवरीवन इन माय फैमिली वाज नॉट लाइकिंग ऑल दिस एट ऑल. और आई वाज जस्ट वेटिंग फॉर द पॉपकॉर्न टर्न. उसके अलावा मुझे कोई लीस्ट बिट भी इंटरेस्ट नहीं था. फिर बाद में मैंने देखा केसरी और जुग जुग जियो. इतनी फ्रिवलस थी बट आई लाफ्ड. Luckily I laughed. I was happy that I laughed. नहीं तो फिर क्या होता, मुझे लगता है ये लोग मुझे लेके जाते हैं फोर्टनाइटली कैसे भी घसीट के डिस्पाइट माय न्यूमरस प्लीज. और मैं बोली कि अगर मैं इस तरह वहां रो पिट के रहूंगी तो कैसे चलेगा. तो आई लाफ्ड. तो वही वाली बात है कि जब आप हर चीज को डाइसेक्ट करने लग जाते हो, एनालाइज करने लग जाते हो, वो भी इतना ठीक नहीं है. कुछ एंजॉय भी करना चाहिए.
नहीं, सही बात है. आई एग्री टू दैट. आई थिंक मैंने भी 83 काफी एंजॉय किया था. लाइक मतलब थिंग वाज आई हैड रेड अ लॉट एंड आई हैड हर्ड अ लॉट अबाउट द उसका पूरा कॉन्टेक्स्ट कि मतलब क्या छोटे इंसिडेंट से मेरे को सब मजा था. तो मेरे लिए था कि हाँ चलो इनने ये दिखा दिया, सब दिखा दिया. मुझे आई वाज डिसअपॉइंटेड विद एमएस धोनी फॉर एग्जांपल कि अरे कुछ ही नहीं दिखाया. बट यहाँ पे लाइक आई कुड सी कि हाँ नहीं जो बोला था जितना कर सकते थे उतना सब दिखा दिया. Because they were very focused on that incident and वहीं रहे वो लोग. They didn't go बचपन में पैदा होते ही उसके दिमाग में वर्ल्ड कप नहीं, वो सब नहीं किया उन्होंने. So I was very happy with
yes.
all
और लेकिन बट हैविंग सेड दैट यू मतलब कपरनॉम और जो बाइसिकल थीव्स जो हाई देता है उसका कोई मुकाम नहीं है.
आंटी वो नहीं मिलेगा, वो उसकी आदत हो जाती है. मेरे को आदत हो चुकी है उसकी. नहीं मिलता.
बट आई एम ग्लैड कि डिस्पाइट कपरनॉम और बाइसिकल थीव्स मैंने कुछ मूवीज एंजॉय की, लाइक केसरी फॉर द essence of our patriotism for our country, that feeling, or frivolous laughter in Jug Jug Jio at 1983 again for the sports buff.
बिल्कुल बहुत जरूरी हो जाता है भाई, एंजॉय करना काफी बार मुश्किल हो जाता है. बट वंश विल टेक योर पॉइंट. यस.
Yeah, hi. So 2020 was the year of Aditya Roy Kapoor. Ludo and Malang both were like my favorites of the year. Love both of them. दोनों तो हटके थे. And Vikram एक था which I genuinely liked. मुझे पता है I had no idea about it and I genuinely liked. But then the one which has struck me the most was Tulsidas Junior. I don't know कितने लोग ने यहाँ देखी है कि नहीं. But it's such a beautiful film. And it was a pleasure watching Rajesh Kapoor. It was my first movie of Rajesh Kapoor. एंड मुझे बहुत पसंद है. अभी इट्स नो मोर बट इन दैट सीखे. एंड उसका कास्ट इज दिया एंड मूवी में इतना थॉट प्रोसेस दिया. लाइक द तुम बैकग्राउंड गाने भी देखे. आई नो आई एम प्रीटी श्योर यहाँ पर बहुत लोग देखी भी नहीं है मूवी. इसका कोई बात है की है नहीं, बहुत 2-3 लोग ने देखे रहेगी. बट डू वॉच इट. इट्स अ वेरी ब्यूटीफुल फिल्म एंड इसका एक बहुत अच्छा प्लॉट है. डायरेक्टर के बारे में वो बोलूंगा नहीं मैं, देखोगे तो ही मालूम पड़ेगा एंड में आता है वो. बट देन यार द थॉट प्रोसेस इतना है ये इसका. द सॉन्ग इसमें यूज किए हैं एंड लाइक it's very well. I guess इसको मिले थे नेशनल फिल्म अवार्ड. उसको मिली थी. यस नेशनल फिल्म अवार्ड तुलसीदास जूनियर को मिली थी. ऑफ कोर्स संजू बाबा भी है एंड आई एम अ फैन ऑफ संजू बाबा, सो दैट काउंट्स. But then yeah, it's a beautiful movie. Also, it's on Netflix. So yeah.
But I need to do a nice plug-in here about another national award-winning filmmaker. We are going to discuss a film with tomorrow at 2:45 tomorrow. So अगर national award films पसंद है आपको,
संकल्प एक इंटरप्शन, मेरी क्लासेस संडे को 3:30 खत्म होती है भाई.
Okay, आपने बता दिया. I'll do something about it.
Please, अगर कंसिडर कर सको तो.
इस बार तो नहीं हो पाएगा, अगली बार definitely करेंगे.
हाँ, because वो last time भी मेरा मिस हुआ था because of my class time.
नहीं, वही आपने वही होता है, अगर ऐसा कुछ दिमाग में हो तो मुझे बता दो तो शायद हम कुछ कर भी पाए. बट
हाँ, मैंने बस बता दिया. You do not have to consider by overruling other aspects.
Yes. Janani, we'll take your point and then wrap it up.
Okay, so I watched Gangubai in '83 in theaters, and I liked both the movies. I like Gangubai. I like Gangubai for Alia Bhatt, Sanjay Leela Bhansali, the story, the way that it was shot, and all of that. It's actually a very beautiful movie. When you're watching it, you don't realize it. Once you're out of the theater, then the essence that it leaves is something that you want to go back to. And I did go back to the theater again. I watched it on Netflix again. It's that powerful to me. It did hold a lot of value. And '83, it's so surprising. No, surprising is a very good word. It's so shocking that it's such a disaster in the box office. It's a very good movie. Everyone did so well. It was shown like point to point. The casting was on point. Everyone looked so perfect. Still, it's a flaw. Such in a country where cricket is an emotion, like it's a religion for people. It's so surprising that MS Dhoni was a hit and '83 is not. That's my. These two movies have left an impact on me after I watched them. There are other good movies, Ludo, Badaido, and all of them, but these two like stuck.
Yeah, similar, very similar to that. Yeah.
मैं बोलूँ मैं फटाफट मूवीज का नाम दे दूँ एक तो मेरा बच्चा था.
Yeah, फटाफट से. हाँ, I didn't realize. Yeah.
हाँ नहीं. So I would. So actually देखा जाए तो there's no Hindi film that's like stayed with me. Like after Andhadhun, it's like I can't even 5 years later I'm talking about this film. I would say just maybe Sardar Udham, just the last 35-40 minutes. And I mean, it's a good film. Don't get me wrong. I like the film, but it tries a bit too hard to be solemn in the beginning but the film knows that what's going to come in the end, right? So it's sort of stuck in its own solemnity until it reveals what it was about all along. That is the incident itself. But then it is just documentation and recreation. It is not still transcending the implications of how human beings can perpetrate something like this on other human beings. So वो थोड़ा मेरे को एक जगह रुक जाता है वो फिल्म मेरे लिए. But Sardar Udham was very well made by Shudit Sarkar. Very serious filmmaker, serious treatment, good stuff. Then there is a film by Rajat Kapoor called Kadak, which released on Sony Live in 2020, which was a very good satire in one room. दिवाली पार्टी है, किसी एक गेस्ट की मौत हो जाती है, उसका लाश छुपा देते हैं वो लोग और उसके लाश के ऊपर बैठ के सब ताश खेलते हैं. That is the film. So it's a satire actually about urban Mumbai and how people live and how uncaring people are about even their neighbors and things like that. And it's about a very, very simple conceit. Kuch high funda nahi hai. This very simple film about a Diwali party, a bunch of drunks and a dead body. That's it. So something very fundamental. That's what I liked. And then Ludo, multiple narratives, great stuff, and almost like an Indian Magnolia, you can call it like that. And one more film I would like to mention because मुझे एक second का time है, not because it's a Hindi film, but because it was a great film. Garuda Rishabha Gamana Vahana is a Kannada film, and it's literally it reinterprets the gangster genre even after Scorsese, even after Tarantino, even after Coppola. It's about 4 people, like lungi clad people in a village somewhere in Karnataka who just because of their egos become gangsters and just have one goal, that is kill each other. So it's essentially it brings mythology. We talk about mythological sidestepping and mythological allegories in our storytelling right now with RRR and with Brahmastra. This film brings mythology to the level of a village, the Panwadi. So because Garuda is Vishnu's and Vaman is again Vishnu's avatar. So these avatars of Vishnu fighting amongst each other, sort of allegory, which is there. So yeah, that's again a great film which people should check out. I think it's on Z5. नहीं है सब्सक्रिप्शन तो माही दे देगा टेलीग्राम whatever like Mahi will give you Z5 subscription. Sorry, we're live. Sorry.
He has a lot of money. Yes.
Yes. Okay, thank you. That's my time.
Yes. I think on that note, we can wrap up the live conversation. I think it was a lot of fun. It was something interesting we tried. The idea of doing these lives is fun. I think we can make it even more fun, even more chill aage jaake. Just discussing pop culture stuff. That's the basic plan of doing this. Like we had Harshit today, we'll have other people as well from time to time. We'll obviously have Harshit as well again soon. But again, like we'll obviously discuss kaisa raha, kaisa nahi raha. But I think it's a good, fun, undemanding thing we can try because like and unlike Instagram Live, here we have more people and it can work like a normal discussion that we have as well. Anyways, we want to work on our YouTube a little bit, so that way it can also might just help. And if anybody of you hasn't already, please subscribe or like the stream or whatever the things are required to be done, basic stuff. Let's see how we can grow the Instagram or YouTube. I'm still not sure. We'll do a little bit. We'll upload the sessions that we have conduct. We'll do these lives. इसके अलावा ज़्यादा कुछ करना possible अभी है नहीं, but let's see how it goes. So because our intention is to grow our community and use YouTube as a promotional tool and not YouTube as our priority use sense में.